This show is sponsored by the ComX shop. We hope you enjoy the show.
G'day and welcome to another episode of Tuesday Chinwag. My name is Lee Chalker. I am the creator of the Australian independent comic book Battle for Bustle, published through the ComX shop. And before I get into the ComX shop, I'm just going to welcome our guest this evening, Mr. Alex Major. How are you, buddy?
Hello, Lee. I'm doing okay. How are you?
Very good. Very good. Well, mate, I'm just going to finish off this introduction and then we'll be straight back into see what makes you tick, all right? So the ComX shop, everyone, in case you don't know, is sponsors the show, and it has over 100 Australian independent comic book titles. So you can get a wide variety of comic books from there. It has one flat rate of $9. So that means you can buy one comic, you can buy 20 comics, you can buy as many as you wish for $9. So go and support some Australian artists and creators and help them buy some ink and some paper, or, you know, recharge their tablets or whatever it is that, you know, like they want to spend the money on to continue to give you good stuff. Now, tonight I will chuck up that ticker box there, mate. That's something I forgot to put on there. Across the bottom of the screen when it pops up will be the two channels that the show is streamed across. Now there is, here we go, running across the bottom of the screen for you there. We have the ComX network. Now the ComX network is made up of three portions. It is made up of the ComX community, which is a whole heap of people getting together that are like-minded, that just have a love of comic books and want to chinwag and gasbag and talk about all things comic books. There is the ComX network, which is the live stream side of things, which has Chinwag. It also has How to Draw a Comic Book, Friday Night Drink and Draw, and the Oz ComX show, and varying other shows that come up during the week. And it also has the ComX shop. Now, the second channel that it's streamed across is Aussieverse. Now, if you've never heard of Aussieverse, the address is across the bottom, and you can check them out. They are an Australian comic book pop website and community that looks at all things comic books and movies and their latest haul videos and custom builds, and they have interviews with creators from all over the world as well. So basically they support Australian comic books. We all love Australian comic books. We love comic books. So if you do too, jump on and like and subscribe either of those channels anywhere that you can find them. Now, all comments are welcome too. So fire them off if you've got any questions for Alex and myself. We'll do the best to cover everything. So I do apologise this evening. I've been crook for a couple of weeks, but I'm going to power on because I have been looking forward to having my old mate Alex on the show this evening. Alex is, I will say, a little bit of an enigma. He is a man of mystery and the master of the Sloppy Bunny Toons. So we'll get into that in a tick. And Richo, evening ComX at long last, the perfect pair for Chinwag. This will be great. Thank you.
Well, let's see. Maybe he'll regret saying that by the end.
Yeah.
This is the worst thing I sat through.
Hello, Ben. And hello,
Jackie. Everybody.
Yeah, hello. Thank you all for your lovely good evenings and comments, and let's get on with it. So, all right. So, show's based on who, what, where, when, how, and why. And sometimes we get through it. Sometimes we do not. The show is fluid.
Yeah, sorry, Lloyd. So I want to just turn it to you for a second because I don't know how many people comment on the intro, but and I did promise some beard talk. I noticed that in the intro, every photo, the beard gets a little bit shorter. So it kind of nicely leads into the show, to the beginning. So I just wanted to give you props for that. I don't know who edited that, but, it gets my thumbs up.
Yeah, well, thank you, mate. It's I was actually going to, after that lovely caricature you did of me the other day, I was going to shave this morning just to throw you off. But I thought that might be too drastic a change. So I've gone with the salt and peppers again, and it is getting a little bit longer. So thickening up. You know, that's the one thing, Alex, I don't know if you've noticed as we get older, particularly for me anyway. The hair on my head doesn't grow, but the stuff out of my face and ears and nose and eyebrows continues to power on, man. So it's one of those mysteries of the universe, and I'm sure there's no answers out there for that.
I'm jealous. I'm jealous, Lacey. I'm in my mid-40s, and I still haven't hit puberty properly, so I can't grow sideburns.
You can't grow sideburns?
I can't grow sideburns. I can grow 7 to 12 strands of hair on the side. They get pretty long, but I can't do the rockabilly lifestyle, like or the look.
Man.
The lifestyle, the same.
Well, I don't know. I saw you with a beard not too long back, man. You know, like at the start of the year.
I can grow chin fluff. I can grow chin fluff, and I can do, but I can't grow hair here on the side properly. It's just a little bit of patches stuff going on there, and so that sucks. That's so I can't. Yeah, so I can't do the sideburn thing. So I can't do like an Elvis. It can't be an Elvis impersonator. I mean, the top hair is also disappearing slowly, and it's getting grey and all that stuff. Yeah. So that's going normally according to science. Yeah. But this part just it basically is trying to it's just behaving against scientific rules.
That's what I tell people too when they ask me about like what happened to my hairstyle. So it's like just against scientific rules, man. Like it's I didn't sign the contract when I popped out of mum there. Like to say yes, I want to be a solar panel by the time, or an egghead by the time I'm like in my mid-40s either.
I filled out the forms. I filled out those forms. I went straight out what I wanted. Yeah, I filled them out, signed it, got it stamped. I thought I put it into the right thing. As far as I know, nobody's told me, and I can't go. And I specifically asked for sideburns. Exactly.
Hair is overrated. I agree, Nick, mate. Brothers, mate. That's right. Yeah. It's I totally agree. The really weird part is though about hair is when I recognized that, like I was indeed becoming follically challenged, like in a previous period of my life, I thought to myself, man, I'll be able to shave it. I won't have to get, like haircuts. It'll be really easy to look after. And you know what? I don't know if that's true. I think it takes more to manicure a shaved head, than what it does just to drop into the barber and let someone else look after it, man. It's
really? Wait. So you can't just shave it off? You can't just go and you good to go?
Well, I tend to use razor blades, man. So that might be on me. And like I've got a head like a golf course, man. So there's a lot of divots out of it and stuff. So like if I'm not too like if I'm not careful, you know what I mean. Like I could end up in the ambulance.
So this is the rough. Is this?
Yeah, that's the rough, man. Yeah, it was the green, but now it's turned into the rough. So so I'm trying to avoid hospital for slicing my head open, man. Like no one needs that. And
somebody loves us. Like,
I know, and I love love. Like because love's a beautiful thing, man, and everyone should just explode with love. That's just where I'm at in life. It's like there's never too much love, and that's where I'm at. So that's it for the show tonight. That's what I'm leaving it on, and goodbye.
There you go. I like the hair theme of this. Screw comics. Let's just talk about hair all day.
Yeah. This is the fluidity of the show, Alex. This is what we talk about, man. We'll get there eventually, dude. I'm in no rush, man. Like that's what Tuesday nights are for. They're for chinwagging, So it's I even put on my most comfortable pants and everything. I've got a new table. So I'm a little bit out of whack with the schematics of how everything is. I've been trying to learn to draw on this new table this week. It's a little bit higher than my previous one because I've bounced between the drawing board and here, and it's thrown me off a touch. But things, it'll come into rhythm, man. It'll all get into the flow eventually. So, with a couple of, like a little bit of chatting to you and catching up on things, I'm sure we'll get there, mate,
Well,
before the evening's
a
out.
good table is highly. It's like my table sucks. I bought mine at IKEA when I moved in, and it looked all right in IKEA. I brought it in, and the measurements were kind of okay, but
Yeah.
not jiving with it. So
What do you
I'm gonna
mean
get
by
a.
kind of okay? I would have thought measurements would either be were rather specific.
Yeah, but I wasn't. I didn't have. See, when I was measuring, I was just kind of estimating the amount of junk I have. I didn't have like an exact figure of my junk,
Yeah.
and also like I changed my setup. So like I used to have a laptop. I don't have a laptop anymore. I just have well, I suppose whatever I'm talking to now is a laptop, but I don't have a MacBook anymore. I've got like a little desktop computer now. So I thought, oh, that'll give me more tablet space.
Yep.
And but yeah, there's something about it, like it's too thin. Like I thought it'll be fine. I needed it to be certain length so I can fit in a couple of monitors because I wanted to have more than one monitor. So I have that whole professional look, and then you have all these monitors, and then I just draw my little iPad mini.
So what were all the monitors for? Like to impress people that came over, and I'll show you the new place. Look at all my monitors.
To
Like
be honest, pretty much my Cintiq does that. I don't like drawing on it as much. I got this big Cintiq, and I didn't. Work provided for me, so I'll do some work stuff for it. But it's not like because it's at home. Nothing's stopping me from plugging it into my own devices and using it. But I never do. But it looks good because people come to the thing and they're like, well, this guy's obviously professional. So.
until we all start about an hour and a half into Chinwag.
They go to Chinwag. I just look at my Instagram and they're like, it's just cats.
There's nothing wrong with cats, mate. Even though my dogs are always on display, I've got two cats whom I love very much, mate. Charlie and Pickles. Pixels. They go really well.
Pixels.
Nice. Well, I had a cat called Pickles, and unfortunately, she went, up the rainbow, across the Rainbow Bridge a few years ago, and the next little tacker that came across my path was called Pixels. But over time, and I don't know if you're the same, maybe other pet owners might understand this, but you sort of come up with, I don't know, tunes, ditties, bits and pieces for animals, as you're home with them, and, like you're singing songs and stuff, and then Pixels has suddenly become Schnook. So it's Schnook now. She's got a bit of an identity crisis at times. I think I might have been one of those parents to my animals that, caused it, some issues. But I'm learning. So maybe when I get, like another 3 or 4 cats down the road, mate, it might be, like quantified in its identity. So, like we'll see how we go. Good evening, Marty. Thank you for watching. And Dave, I saw the comment before about this could be a long night. Just remember, mate, these are like recorded as well. So if you need to go and have a nap, you can catch up with it tomorrow, buddy. So, like we'll keep you.
But I do recommend watching it live because I can answer your questions. I mean, I might get into the comments and then just, if the comments are heavy on the YouTube, I'll just pop in there and I'll just answer some questions that I might have missed out on. But yeah, so.
Yeah. So by heavy questions, what do you mean, man? Like existential questions, or you just mean like lots of questions?
I don't know. People might have just questions. Like, I don't know. Like I've been on... I've bit the bullet and I joined the Flat Earth Society on Facebook. And I don't believe in it. I think NASA does great work, and the Earth is definitely a globe. I flew on planes too often to think it's flat, but it is a lot of enjoyment. Like it's like just to scroll through it, all these people arguing about it. So. That's so. If anyone wants to stay within that topic in the comment sections, I'm happy to go that direction. But I need those questions. So somebody wants to call me a globetard and then challenge me, go for it, bro.
Globetard. Yeah, but you are an international man of mystery, which we will get into that. But All right. So let's all now that's segued us to from flat earthing into Alex flying willy nilly all over the areas of the globe. I said it. So if there's anyone has any conjecture about me calling it a globe and Alex leaning towards it being flat,
No, I'm still leaning globe. No,
oh, you're
no.
okay.
I'm a
So
globe guy. I'm a
yeah,
globe
yeah.
guy. I'm
All
not.
right. Yeah, all right. Yeah, all right. Well, if
I
anyone's not
just
sure whether Alex is a globe guy, you know
I
what I
just
mean.
want to
Like,
see the argument because
yeah. No, I like. Yeah, if you just like chucking a
because
grenade in there, man, just to see and like what they say. Yeah, yeah. So you're essentially just stirring the pot a little bit, mate. Like
I haven't left any comments in it yet. I'm just reading it right now, and I'm like, if I left comments, I won't stay there for too long because I have my doubts. I have my doubts about. I just the arguments for the Earth being flat aren't strong yet. So
yeah. I know it's always puzzled me, but hey, man, look, whatever. If it gets them up in the morning and gives them a sense of purpose, then
good for them.
Yes, that's exactly right, mate. That's
There's
exactly right.
there's
So,
more there's more troublesome people in the world
yeah,
than
yeah,
people who just think that it's flat. I'm like, all right, dude, you do you.
yeah, man. It's like like there's just explosions and people taking over other people and stealing their human rights, and then should I put my energy into like trying to protest and stop that and spread love and or should I worry about some dude who's sitting on his computer in his house looking out a window at someone's toilet because the flats are so close together arguing that the world is flat? So I'm probably going to be inclined to just leave that dude there and enjoy his and enjoy his view. Well, there you go, his view. So of
Yes.
flat earthing and the toilet of the neighbours next door. I do like storytelling. So Alex, I'm
Yeah.
going to get. I'm up now. Now we're going to get right into it, mate. All right. The
Okay. No
existential
worries.
question. Yeah. Who?
Sorry. What are you trying to? What are you asking? What's the question?
Who?
Who? What?
Who are you?
Me? Who am
Yeah.
I?
Yeah.
I'm the guy. I'm the guy on the number 5 box to the right from Sizzle at the drink and draw on Fridays. Or
That's how you identify yourself, is it?
yeah. So that's how I'm guessing a lot of the audience knows me. But
Yeah.
generally, I don't know. I'm a cartoonist in Sydney. That's it. There you go. I make cartoons. I animate. I draw. It's my hobby and my job. So I've been doing it for over 20 years,
Mm.
and it's sometimes comics, sometimes animation, and sometimes for like 3 years of my life, was it 3 or 2 years of my life, I was designing plush toys.
Mm.
I directed several animated series in China. One of them, my last show, was 10 episodes for the Chinese government, telling them how it works to the Western audience.
Oh,
Was
yeah.
weird. It was weird
Yeah.
for being an employee for the Chinese Communist Party for 3 months. So if anybody wants to have at me, I'm like, hey, dude, that was a job. I'm not endorsing it. I'm just easily paid off. So if anybody wants me to has an opinion, I have a price. Just drop a DM into my Instagram, and I'll push your propaganda. Don't worry. There's just a price for it.
So how did you find working for the Communist Party, mate? Did
I
they
was
treat
pleasant.
you equally fairly?
Yeah, it was very nice. They treated me very
Yeah.
nice, paid well. I know I'd love to tell you some salacious stories,
Mm.
but it was just like a normal client. It was a freelance gig. They just double checked that they had to double check that I can provide legitimate. Was a FAPIA? Oh, geez, receipts. That's right. So I had to do legitimate receipts. All the paperwork had to go through that I'm a legitimate resident of the People's Republic of China, which I was.
Mm.
And then they asked us to do 20 episodes, but my company was going under, and this because I had an animation studio in Shanghai for two and a bit years, and so we had a TV show built around that. We had a TV show. We built a studio around that, and then we did some TV commercials, and then the show finished, so we didn't have like anything big to feed. So we were looking everywhere, scouting for TV shows, and I had this 20-episode deal with with CGTN, which is the English language channel of the Chinese government. So you can see them on YouTube and stuff like that. And yeah, we were only able.
Out there. Come back to me, Alex.
Yeah.
Are you there? I missed that last part. You dropped out on me, but that's all right. There's the fluid. Maybe that was the Communist Party.
Yeah, maybe a little Chinese person will come. What?
Would it be offensive to give a flat earther a snow globe for Christmas?
No, I think you should totally do it.
Yeah, I reckon that might be quite amusing. And Sloppy has a strong Happy Tree Friends vibe. Am I far off on that one? Familiar?
You know what? I know Happy Tree Friends. I like the visual stuff. My problem with it was that I didn't mind the violence on it. It just didn't go anywhere. Like for instance, like it didn't have like a solid joke that had violence in it. It was just, how violent can these cute things go? And it's not, I don't know, like it is something that would be me, because like, but no. It's like I used to like. I mean, I don't know how many people he would watch it, but 20 years ago, there used to be, when Flash was new, there used to be like this online stuff called Icebox TV, and they had a bunch of little animations. They're kind of crude animations, but they were well written and they were kind of funny. Used to watch that, and then Happy Tree Friends reminds me of that style.
I have absolutely no idea what Happy Tree Friends is.
No, they've got this like annoying hype. It's like it looks 100% like a little kids show. So it's like a little kids show that you'd watch on whatever, like in like play school style colors, very vibrant colors, and they got these little animal friends, and they basically just kill each other.
Yeah, right.
So their eyes get pulled out, their guts get pulled out, they get decapitated, and stuff like that. I mean, it's got a bunch of fans, and I hate shitting on people who like stuff, because if you like something, you like it. You know, nobody should tell you not to like something. So I don't like that. And I think that's the way I described it. Maybe came off that way. Not my intention.
Yeah, no, man, I agree with you. You know, if the world was all the same, it'd be a pretty boring place. So you know, like. You know, I mean, so far we've covered two groups tonight: flat earthers and people that like, what was it called? Happy Tree
Friends.
People. What?
I don't know. Tree Friends is the show.
Oh yeah, okay. Happy Tree Friends. All right. Well, that sounds good.
I had it on SBS. I think I had it on SBS. So there you go.
I don't know. I've never heard of it, man. It's with your so the you're because you're like, you've got the most random. You've had a good life, man. Like traveling, you know, like
but if it was a story, you know, it's incoherent. Because
you know what's funny, Alex? I was just gonna say, like, because I've had, for anyone that's watching for the first time, Alex and I have known each other for a few years, and we've met heaps of times on the Friday night drinking draws. And after the Friday night drinking draws, we have. Just talks, man, where just, you know, the people on the show get together and have yarns and stuff. And Alex often talks anecdotes about his travels and stuff. And today I was drawing, and I was trying to put together, you know, like a timeline of Alex's travels and everything that's happened to him. And I've got a pretty good idea at the beginning. And I've got a pretty good idea of the end, because right now we're here. So we're in the present. That's about as far as it's gone. But the man he's infamous on Instagram with his flatulating lady.
That was TikTok. That was
TikTok. There you go.
Yeah,
now, for anyone at home, I find this quite amusing. Can you explain what happened there, man? Because you were pretty popular. You were you know, blazing away.
Yeah, so TikTok was pretty much the first time my creator-owned thing, where I didn't have any investment, it was just my own thing, actually took off. It was about, it was like we had real numbers. So I had like 150,000 followers, and I think I ended up having like about 50 million views. So my most popular video had like, I think 4 or 6 million views. And there was like thousands of people just posting, sharing. It was just weird numbers I've never seen anywhere else. And it sucked because they never transferred anywhere. But I do have like a lot of fan art. I actually do have, just a second.
Yeah, man. Yep. Oh, we're getting some props here tonight. Look at this. Alex has jumped into his portal and coming back. Show us what he's got.
So I put together a little collage of all my fan art. So if you go here, so you can see there's like I genuinely got like so that's the girl. That's Ichigo. She's the fighting girl. Yeah. And then that's her cat. He's just purple cat because he's purple. Yeah. And because you can see there, there's just like a collage of like a lot of fan art. So like it went out. It did well. Like, I mean, I was very happy to have that. Because like, you want like fan art, some of the coolest stuff, and it was really cool that just had all this engagement and stuff. But she also had a friend called Poopsie the Mermaid, and the mermaid had like just had band-aids on her nipples, thinking that's safe, that's PG rated. But apparently that was flagged a couple of times. But then they would put it back on, because like I would just challenge it and go like, I don't think it's wrong. And eventually I got a thing. And then then Ichigo herself got banned a couple of times. And eventually just TikTok, just because what happened was that it got ugly a couple of times, because some of the fans, not fans, but some of the people there, because they weren't fans, just hated on it and just started accusing just very ugly stuff on it. And I was like, oh, wait. So I was just messaging TikTok saying like, look, guys, there's some foul stuff going on. Everything's open. Anyway, you guys want to contact me, investigate, whatever. I'm an open book. Just go in there. There we go. Nick May and his
art-based popularity can be fleeting.
Yeah. So
well, it got bloody 50 million views or whatever you're saying.
Yeah, it was good, but it was good, and I was starting to get sponsors and stuff. Yeah, but it didn't go further. The problem was it didn't get further, and then eventually, but actually, just before I got banned, like there was like you look at an arc on how stuff goes. So at the beginning, it's nothing, and then it went really high. And then it just started to taper off. So it was also tapering off. It was like a 2-year run. There was like some intensity going on, and got to talk with some other TikTokers through it. But it was weird when like TikTok itself didn't like it, because they had events for people with 50,000 followers. Yeah. And I never got invited to them, and I had 100,000. And I'm like, hey, come on, TikTok. That's not cool. And then they give you like a survey every few months. So I always complained. You never invite me to anything. And I'm like a local creator, and you guys should be supporting animations and stuff. There was another Aussie guy on there who, I forgot his name, but he also did animations on it. And he had millions of followers. So he was like beyond my thing. But his thing was that he would film like birds and stuff like that. And then he would give the birds arms, and he would do a voice. He's an actor. So he would just do these basic animations of these other live action video. And he'd just make up these little stories. And they're very clever. And he did very well. So he ended up doing, like, I saw him doing billboard ads and stuff like that. So I never got that with my one. Nobody looked at my fighting Japanese schoolgirl and said, this dude needs to be mainstream.
This dude needs to be at the Super Bowl, like doing those ads. Yeah, that would have been pretty cool though, man. But I wonder why you never got invited. The bureaucracy of these things, man. They make rules to be broken.
It's crude stuff. Like, it's not the brand. Like, a lot of times, they have a brand they want to do, and they're like fighting schoolgirls, and it was kind of popular enough that if it was on brand, I reckon they would have treated me a lot nicer. But it was off brand, and it's not mega viral. Like mega viral would have been like 30, 50, 100 million views, because like TikTok's very short. So you know, it's not like a YouTube video where like if you got 1 million people watching a YouTube video and it's 10 minutes long, it's like almost a TV show. On the other hand, on TikTok, it's just like they were like literally 5 to 10 second videos, because like the animation, I'm not animating a minute long video because they take a long time to do. They're just literally just girl fighting in weird situations. And I kind of ran out of ideas of like, after I think I did like about 700 videos, and there's only
and then you just ran out of like locations for her to be flatulating like wildly.
The kids were giving ideas, so they were like, can you have like Ichigo fart on this character? So they were like asking for fan art stuff as well. But then other people were like, oh, I just want to see Ichigo. Can you just have Ichigo fart with Purple Cat or something else? Or sometimes they would like, actually some kids would ask me to draw them, to have Ichigo fart on them. And I was like, no, because no. And I would just kind of quietly ignore that. But it was a COVID thing as well. Like, you know, once COVID decided to go away, and I had a job as well. So it's kind of like, okay, there's a high paying job, and there's this thing that just gives me a couple of bucks a week.
Yeah. Oh, but it was an experience.
A nice adventure. Yeah, it was a really good little adventure, because like, you know, with comics and stuff, like, you know, I don't have that reach. Like I had a couple of webtoon stuff, never really had a good reach for my webtoons online, and the print comics, you know, like I did them a long time ago, and it was, you know, at the time that's the best way to get your ideas out, because there was no internet. And you know, like I was one of the you know, there were a few people who did get some kind of newsagent distribution back in the 90s, which was nice.
Well, take us back to little Alex, and you know, before
I'll give you.
Before they were calculating, you know, like schoolgirls, and you hit, you know, 50 million, you know, like on TikTok and all that sort of stuff. There was Alex.
Yeah.
And
so
your dream was that you were a McDonald's employee that wanted global fame. Is that what your quote is?
Yeah, but I kid you not, my dream job was working at McDonald's when I was 8 or 10. I was like, oh, working at McDonald's, you can eat all the cheeseburgers and chicken nuggets you want. Turns out that's not the case. Did you find
that was true when you got there?
No, it was awful, because you get there. This was like, this was 1994 or 95, I think. Macquarie Centre, Sydney Macquarie Centre, McDonald's at the time. And I remember they gave us at lunch, if it was the beef stuff, you could, like cheeseburgers and Big Macs, you could get a 50% discount. If you wanted a fillet of fish or chicken nuggets or a McChicken, no discount for you, even though I was working there making $4.25 an hour.
What? Why would they give this? See, this is the disparities of discounts for employees. Like, what does the Big Mac have that the fillet of fish doesn't? You know, it's
apparently beef was cheaper than the square-shaped fish. I mean, to be fair, I don't find many square-shaped fish in the river or the sea.
No, I mean, you know, what would you do if you came across a square-shaped fish, Alex? This is strange.
I would give it if I did, I'd give it a name.
Yep.
And I would give it a home in my house, and I'd be like, check this out. Every time somebody comes to my house, I check this out. I got a square fish. And his name's Jason. I'm assuming it's a he, which is pretty rude, but you know.
Well,
I can't tell.
In this case, because we're jive talking, we'll go with a he. What would you call Mr. Squarefish?
I told you, Jason.
Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Have you met a Jason before? Is that the first name that just popped to your head? You know, like what's the flow behind Jason?
There's no flow. It's literally just something that just came out of just the head. I was gonna say bunghole, but no, the head.
Excuse me, hang on. Excuse me. I have a fish story that I got. A mate of mine I used to work with had this red devil, and if anyone knows fish out there, red devils are pretty mean suckers, and they grow pretty big. But I quite like fish, and I'm not too bad with them either. And um, and he kept it in this 1 foot tank. Anyway, one Sunday morning, he turned up at my house, and he's just got this fish tank thrown into the back of his ute with the lid taped down, and he's gone, "You can have the fish." And I'm like, what am I going to do with this, man? You know, I've already got another tank here and everything. He's like, "You can keep it. I just don't want it anymore. It's either you or it goes in the river." And I was like, okay, well, I'll keep the fish. So I had the fish, and every animal that I've ever had has always had a name, man. I don't know. I'm just not one of those sort of people. It's like, hey, fish, hey, cat, dog, that sort of thing. It's got to have it's got to have a name.
Yeah.
So, much like yourself, at the time I was asked what the fish's name was, and it just automatically came to me that I'd just call it after the dude that like gave me the fish. So that I have a red devil who's about 1 foot long now, and its name is Shane. So I come in every morning.
Wait, Shane. Is it
Shane?
Is it Sizzle Shane or
no, totally different. Totally different Shane. This fish doesn't get sizzled, mate. But yeah, she's pretty big now. So well, see, I call it.
Still have Shane?
Yeah, just there. Like,
oh,
just
nice.
Yeah. No, Shane's there. It's actually, look, why not? Why not do something a little bit random, just to shake it up a little bit. Lee's a little bit sick. We've had some pretty serious chin wags the last couple of weeks, and, let's see how we go. See if everyone can see Shane. There she is.
Oh, nice. Oh, she's shy. She's hiding her face.
Yeah. She's a nice girl. She sits down here and she splashes about and has a whole heap of fun with me while I'm, like drawing and doing my things. But yeah, fish are good. So, now that we've veered off onto square fish and spoken about red devils, etc., let's get back into the main topic of, you're starting your day. You're at McDonald's.
I'll go before that. I'll give you the exact countries and geography. So all the geography buffs, and this will come back. I think even the flat earthers will appreciate this because they can look at it on their disk map and figure it out where it is. But okay, so basically, my mom's pregnant and my dad's not, and they're escaping communism.
Okay.
They're escaping communism, and they leave. They manage to escape, and they end up in Austria. And in Austria, they kind of they wanted to go to they're refugees basically. So we were either going to go to. They wanted to go to Germany. But there was also options of South Africa, the US, and Australia. None of the exact story, but apparently Australia gave the best deal for refugees back then. This is the 70s still. So I was born in 79. But because my mom's pregnant, she had to wait to give birth. And then as soon as I was old enough to get on a plane, we came to Australia. And like the thing is that you grow up in in the Eastern Europe, it's pretty grey, but you have an image of going to a Western country of skyscrapers and all this other stuff. And I think they ended up in some place just off Bankstown, which is like a Western Sydney someplace. And I think between Bankstown and Liverpool or something in 1980. So it's not the same as it is now. And I think they're mildly disappointed. I think my mom was. I don't know what the full story was. When they make ComX and get into Chinwag, they can expand on it more. But we went back to Europe pretty quick. So I was in Austria for a while. And then my grandparents went to approval of how my parents were. I don't know what the exact story was, but my grandparents raised me a bit in Hungary. So I actually went to school in Hungary and all this stuff. And I have an Australian passport, and I still don't speak English properly. So I ended up. So I was kind of between Poland and Hungary a bit because I've got aunts in Poland and stuff, and then we were also in Austria. And then somehow we ended up in, and then eventually we ended up coming back to Australia in, hello?
That's
And
g'day, mate.
oh, g'day. And then we ended up so I came back to Australia in 94, not speaking a lick of English. I mean, I came back in 91 to study English. So I came back to Australia for a year. Then I went back to Hungary. And then in 94, properly came back to Australia. But then I graduated. I didn't graduate high school properly. So I don't know. My mom wanted me to go back to Europe as an exchange student. And I was like, I want to go to America because I can make comic books. Because I didn't love comic books. I didn't draw all the time, but I just went through a comic book phase when I was 17. So before that, my geek stuff was Lego and video games. Like, I didn't like drawing. I like cartoons. I like cartoons, but I wasn't that hardcore into it. I was hardcore into video games and Lego. And then it kind of...
What was your first comic book? Because there's another story I want you to, like, if you can, just to tell people, because it was funny, but it was to do with actually maybe we shouldn't talk, maybe that's a pickles moment. We'll chuck a pickles out there and save any drama if there is drama behind that story. Okay, SK's got a question for you, bud. Alex, when are you coming back up to the northern beaches?
We need to find a middle place, because I live in the western beaches called Parramatta. and the ferry doesn't go that far. I mean, I don't know. Manly's nice. I don't know. We'll figure something out. We've been talking about catching up for months. Like, I think end of last year we started it, and it's already March. So yeah, definitely got to catch up. Because I don't have a driver's license, but that's another that'll get it. They'll be peppered in there someplace later. So I don't know. Like, and then I've read comics before as a kid. Like, my grandparents didn't want me to forget German and English, so every time I had to go and do a visa run, because I wasn't Hungarian. I am Hungarian now. I did go for my Hungarian citizenship eventually, but at the time, because they didn't let dual citizenship, I didn't have it. So we went to Austria. My grandparents always bought me Garfield and Smurf comics. So it's not the type of comics that most people do. So West is best.
West is best.
Yeah, go Parramatta Eels. I saw them win last Saturday. Saturday. Yeah. So but anyways,
I'm a Canterbury fan, so like it was a sad moment until I moved on. Max, let me just add to that Northern Beaches request, but instead of coffee, a pub. Max, every time I see you say something, it's always bloody pubs. But anyway, it's like Max, I think, lives at a pub. But that's okay. So did I once upon a time. So you have fun, Max. It's up to you, bud.
Yeah, no worries. Max, we'll go to the pub with Max. We'll leave him there, and then me and SK will go to an Amsterdam-style coffee shop.
Well, I mean, in the Northern Beaches, you could get one of those classy pubs that, like gives you, like a $15 schooner and, like a $15 coffee, like it caters to, like everyone's particular tastes, so
I love spending
classy like that up here, mate.
I love spending $30 on a VB. Nothing says you're rich until you spend $30 on a VB.
Mate, I know it blows me out. It's 30 bucks on a VB.
We're back in 1994 before Macca's. And then I skipped over. We already did the Macca stuff. So then I ended up going to. So I'll name drop my friend Ray. He was a high school buddy, and he introduced me to comics. So he loved his comics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I didn't like. And to this day, I'm not a big Marvel DC fan. And it's because I like it when the creator who created the IP is still involved. And like Spider-Man has gone through so many people. All the people that have created it are long gone. They're gone someplace else. And all the people without it, I'm like, he create some. That's just a me thing. I know I'm gonna upset 79 people. Going like, go poop it. You can like your Marvel and DC. Nothing against that. Love it. It's just not for me.
Mate, you've told them you're in Parramatta now, so like you'll go to work on Monday and there'll be like just groups of people running around. Like, what's old ComX Net AU said here? Let's get a cup of tea in South Brisbane. No license, fine. Hitchhike then. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
to be fair, ComX.net, whatever. He's been in Sydney before, and he was just like 20 minutes down the road from my work offices before. So, but did he hitchhike? Oh, I think he hitchhiked too. I think he had somebody drove him down. Oh wow, there you go.
I think it was Brad Daniels
he's
down
yeah,
there.
that's right. Yeah, so this is like a very reasonable comment. Sounds unreasonable, but it's not because he's done it. So, I got to find somebody from Sydney who's going to drive up to Brisbane.
Well,
But yeah. So anyway, so I got into image comics. I like this. I still like Spawn. Like Spawn. I like the idea of Spawn. I haven't read Spawn since issue 101. I think it's up to 300 now. So
yeah. 350 maybe.
Sorry.
350 maybe. I think it's the longest running independent comic book, or it's in the Guinness
I think
book.
So. I think him and Eric Larson are probably chasing each other because the Savage Dragon as well and stuff. But yeah, I was into all that Gen 13, Witchblade, and all of that stuff because I was like, I got in there from the beginning. So I didn't mind the idea of scantily clad people just doing stuff and having very angry faces. Back to Utah. That's right. Anyways, so I went to America, so I couldn't choose my agency. I was like, comics are made in America. I want to go to America. So my mom was like, okay, you can go to America as long as, you have that exchange student experience. So you couldn't choose the family or the place, just the country. So I ended up in Utah. And I was with a very lovely family. The Mormons were very awesome. I had a good time with them. I'm not going to speak ill of the Mormons because they're super kind to me. I was told, they have opinions of you because you're not a Mormon. And I'm like, they keep inviting me to places. I get to hang out, go to parties where caffeine is forbidden. Weird, but still.
Fair enough. But conversation is, like the gateway. So
no, they like movies and comics and whatnot. It was just normal people. I mean, I went snowboarding and hunting, and like I didn't like hunting, so I kept not aiming at the animals and go like, "Oh, I'm such a bad shot." But obviously, I don't like trees because I shot a lot of trees and rocks.
Yeah. Well, fair enough too. Good on you, mate. For saving those animals out there in Utah. How long did you spend with?
I was there for a year.
For a year.
Yeah, I was there for a year. I did a full school year there, so it was good. Like, I mean, I have I go back to America whenever I can. I like it there, like not just for whatever reasons. I've been going back there for like ever since. So usually, I mean, saying that, I haven't been back to Utah. I go to LA most of the times, and my brother used to live in Chicago, so I went there a couple of times. But last time he's moved to Toronto, so I went to Canada to visit him there. Then, but yeah, I haven't been to New York. That's the one big city I've been to. Every big city I ever was curious about because I like traveling to big cities. And living in them as well. So So anyways, back to traveling. So anyways, Utah finishes. I come back to Australia. I kind of have argument with my parents. Like, I'm going to be an artist. I don't want to go to uni for 4 years and get a degree. And I think, trust me, I'll do 4 years of just work and then I'll figure myself out. So I was working in the hotels and stuff for 4 years, and I was doing actually caricature work as well. So the caricaturing I did caricature work as well on the side. So I started that. It was my first drawing job when I was 19.
Yep.
And then so then eventually I ended up at Disney, and then after Disney shut down, I went to uni for 2 years. I got my master's in animation, and then that let me apply for working visas abroad. So I went to Korea first to teach English, just to kind of see if I want to be an art teacher or an artist. 2 days of kids. I'm like, I do not like children. I do not. I mean, I understand the concept of them. I understand people need them. I understand we cherish them, but I don't like spending one-on-one time with kids. They like yeah, I just it's not how I enjoy to spend my leisurely time or my professional time.
Yeah, that's fair enough. It's well, I don't have any children. I could imagine they'd be the hardest job in the world, really.
Oh, it
Especially,
is.
looking
I
after
reckon it is.
one, looking
I
after a
have
number of them.
I have no idea how people can juggle a human being, more than one human being, bills, taxes, mortgages, car payments, and a job. I'm like, I don't know. I'm struggling with 2 cats and
Yeah,
stuff. So,
yeah.
yeah, I
Cats
don't know,
can be
but
pretty mean, though, Alex. Like, I mean, they leave some, they leave a lifetime of litter behind. You know what I mean? Like, so.
yeah, but they poop in the box. I can handle that.
Yeah, this is
I
true.
can't, I can't, I can't manage a 21-year-old who gets trashed and then poops their pants, and I have to go to the police station to save them. That's what I'm really afraid of.
Yeah. No,
And they
that's
go
fair.
like, so. But yeah, so and then I was in Korea just for a year, and then and then I went to Europe, thinking I'm
Mhm.
gonna go there because the whole plan was after university, I was gonna go to Asia to teach English, have an Asian experience, and then afterwards I was gonna work my way, go to the UK, work
Yeah.
my way to do comics in France because I love French comics. I love
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
goes
Yeah.
on there.
Yeah.
And then so yeah, well, look how I managed to stay on topic there. Comics, whoa,
Hey,
comics, French,
beautiful,
bande
mate.
dessinée.
I love
Um,
it.
and then
Richard, have you
and then
ever wandered into the comic schools in America like the Joe Kubert School or seen any cool museums for comics there?
no, in the US I haven't. I've done in Japan and Europe. I looked at a comic museums. In America, I actually did apply for the Joe Kubert School. I also applied for Savannah, Georgia for sequential art studies, and I got into that.
Yeah.
But the bills are crazy. Like
Mm,
35 at the time, this is 1998, it was like
mm.
35,000 USD. So like my US adventures, I actually circled around stand-up comedy. So I'm friends and I work with a lot of the stand-up comedians at the Comedy Store.
Yeah.
So if anybody's familiar with the Comedy Store, that's pretty much where all of the famous comedians started, like Jerry Seinfeld, David Letterman, Joe Rogan, all those guys. They've all Jay Leno and all of them. They all go through the Comedy Store. And so I made a friend through a guy on Instagram. I just drew a picture of him before he was famous. He's doing very good gangbusters. He's my mate Jesus Trejo,
Mm.
and he's a very funny comedian. He's been on the he's on Julio Gabriel Iglesias' sitcom on Netflix, but he's also has a Showtime special. He's been on the Tonight Show a couple of times and the Late Late Show with James Corden. So he's been around, and this is way after we met. So and what he did, so I did a drawing of him once. He printed a sticker and he stuck it all over the Comedy Store. So all these famous comedians started following me on Instagram. So you can see. So if you're into that LA comedy scene, which is now half of it's in Austin. So if those those names like I know a lot of those guys. I did some animation. So some people that might know Jamie Kennedy, he was in the Scream movies and he had the Jamie Kennedy experience on MTV. I did a short for him. I worked with Felipe Esparza, who I've been on his podcast as well, but I did the intro for him and I've done 6 or 7 shorts for him. And I did his logo as well. So then he's like a pretty cool comedian. He's been on, he's a regular on the Eric Andre show. He's on the Adult Swim, and he's been on, and he's got a couple of Netflix specials. So he's been around. So It's kind of fun. If you follow that, you know who these are. If you don't, I'm just naming random names. But
yeah, but it's impressive. It's impressive. Like, the
Yeah.
list of names of people I've never heard of. I wouldn't know if they were real or not, but it's cool. Yeah, Rogan's in Austin, Mothership now, I believe. The LA comedy scene.
So Jackie knows who I'm talking about. So
Yeah.
for Jackie, if nobody else knows, so I used to hang out a lot with Red Band. So he does a podcast. So he started the Rogan podcast. He's also the cameraman behind the famous Carlos Mencia thing, and he also he also does the Kill Tony show. So that's like another phase. So he moved to Austin as well. So, but because before the whole protest happened, like I was not planning to come back to Australia. So Red Band was going to look after my cats while I relocate to LA. So we were going to go to LA at one stage. We had a 2-year plan because like I had some agency work in Hong Kong, and Aiko had a steady job in Hong Kong, and I was going to go between LA and Hong Kong for 2 years. And then I slowly would have moved there. So, because that's how I moved to Shanghai. I didn't live in Shanghai, but that's where all the interesting work was. So I was going to Shanghai every weekend until people just got used to my face. And the next thing I know, I'm art directing games in Shanghai. So pretty much this was the battle plan for LA.
Yeah.
Because I started to get invited to places. People used to know me there for a while. And then the whole COVID thing ruined it because Rogan moved to Austin. So half the people I know moved to Austin, and these aren't like close friends. These are just like people who are very nice to me when I visited. So like Jesus is probably like the only dude that I'll just consider general, like a friend who I'd hang out with and call up, hey, what's up? So, and then Felipe is also pretty cool, but so I'm not that tight with the comedy scene there, but it was getting that direction. It was pretty exciting. But then, ended up here. And then, but we made Australia work, so we're here. We're doing fine.
Yeah,
but there was a Shanghai part as well. Yeah, so I ended up I was in the UK. So whatever. Oh no, that's right. The plan. I was talking about a plan. So the plan was go to Asia, teach English. Go to Europe, from UK, try to get a job in the ComX in France, and then get old in south of France in Nice, drawing 2 French comics a year, and then I'll probably go to Puerto Rico, look for a wife, and then come back to France, and then hopefully.
Did you just say Puerto Rico to look for a wife?
Yeah, that was the plan. I'm not saying that was correct, anyways, but.
Okay, that was the plan. That
was the plan.
So at this particular point, you were ready.
So this is January 2007.
The flat, map of the Earth. You just chose Puerto Rico as the place to be.
Let's stop that. Then the less deep we delve into this online, the better. And then we move over, and then of my reasoning. So anyway, so then what happened was I was in Korea. And then I had a bad romantic situation. So my UK thing only lasted 3 months. And then I actually worked on a film briefly. I worked on a film called The Illusionist, which was
that's with Edward Norton in it.
No. Edward Norton. There's an animated one. So if anybody knows who Tati is, he's like a French artsy film guy. And they did an animated. He died before he could finish one of his films, and they animated that film. And if anybody remembers the movie Triplets of Belleville, it's the same director. So it's like it was an Academy Award nominated film, and it was a big deal because it was a 2D film. When 3D films were the big deal. Like that's when like Toy Story 2 were coming out, I think Ice Age and whatever, and all of those, like the second round of 3D films were coming out. And this was a 2D film that did relatively well, and it was kind of like a Belgian and Canadian corporation. So the guy who I think was Belgian, Sylvain Chomet, and then he went to open a studio in Scotland. So a lot of Disney guys went there. So I went there and I was there for about a week, but I couldn't concentrate properly because of some other issues. So I went back to China to sort out my stuff. And then, and that stuff was in Shenzhen. And Shenzhen is like a town near Hong Kong. It's a big factory city. It's very big. And then so it's where people's iPhones are made. So put something to it. And then I knew a guy I met twice in Korea, and he told me that, oh, if you're ever in Shanghai, come over, I'll help you out. If you want, I'll help you out with a job and everything. And I was pretty broke, and I didn't have enough tickets I didn't have enough money to leave China. So I was stuck. So I took a plane to Shanghai, and then he tells me, I'm actually in Suzhou, catch a bus. And I'm like, okay. So I caught a bus, and it was 80 RMB, which is like £8 and like $12. And I was like, oh, China's like cheap, but not that cheap. I don't know why everybody thinks this place is so cheap. But it was a 5 hour bus ride from the airport. So I wasn't in Shanghai. I wasn't going to Shanghai. And I'm like, dude, why didn't you tell me Suzhou's a different city? It's like, oh, I didn't want to explain it to people. It's close enough to Shanghai. And it's just like calling Newcastle being Sydney, or like Gold Coast being Brisbane. It's kind of that. So it's like nowadays with the bullet train, it's a half an hour ride. So but it's 100 and something kilometers, like 150 kilometers.
So were you thinking at the time when you were on that bus, like, oh my God, where am I going?
Yeah, I was on this bus because I just went there. I had a couple of dollars to my name. I didn't have too much to my name. I was just on this bus, and I had no other way of communicating. I had a British phone, and I had this cheap Sony phone, and it was a prepaid card, nothing. Text messages worked on it. So there was no good reason for that to work. That was just dumb luck, because I'm in China on a British SIM card, and I had like about 5 messages I think I was able to do, because just the expenses. This is 2008. And I'm on this bus going, and I'm like, I couldn't even tell them properly. Like now I could ask them, oh, boy, so I meant you, Suzhou ma. And they'd be like, weirdo white guy, your Chinese is crap. But now I was like, Suzhou. And I showed him my phone, and he's just like, nice phone, bro. And then, we're on this bus, but I ended up in Shanghai, and I get ripped off everywhere. But because I come from London, even being ripped off, I didn't notice. Like, I paid 50 RMB, which was about like £5, $6 for $7 for this taxi. And the taxis were like about $1, $2 at the time. So I didn't know I was being ripped off, but I was like, oh my God, I'm in this weird city. I'm in China. Not in Shanghai. I'm in some random city in China. There's this dude. I got into an illegal taxi because I didn't notice, because they still have the fake stuff. They even have meters and stuff, but it's fake. And I realized it's fake. I'm like, this is going to abduct me, and he's going to ask my dad for all his money. And my dad doesn't have that much money. And I'm like, what did I get myself into? And then I ended up at a dude's house, and I got a job teaching English for a few months, for about 3 months, until I ended up, people were like, I was just drinking in bars, and people were like, what, you worked at Disney? Like, everybody in China was very helpful. So all these bars commissioned me to design their menus. I did their ads. So like the expat ads were half filled with my drawings, because like all the bars, once they found out my story, wanted me to get back on my feet. They're like, you're not an English teacher, you're an artist, you need to get a proper job. So I ended up doing then somebody was like, oh, I'll do the covers for the expat magazines. I was doing covers for magazines, doing these ads. Then I got invited to an animation conference. I got drunk with the wife of the guy that directed Kung Fu Panda. And then my stories and name droppings just started, because like I ended up going to Shanghai more often after that conference. I got to meet with a bunch of people and got to go to these weird parties I would have never been invited to. Like, I was at a party with Quincy Jones once. I was like, whoa, you did Thriller for Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
I was like, well, don't worry. I did. I drew a lot of the shadows for Lion King 1.5. So we both got credit.
This hey Pete, dude, just that story that you said right there is wow. Like, like sort of, I know you say it with humor and that, and you're an awesome storyteller. I've enjoyed you telling stories in the past when we've been talking, but to break it down, I mean, you got no money, You're stuck in a foreign land. You've got absolutely no idea what's going on. You've chanced it. I mean, Dad's broke, so the chances of you being a hostage and getting paid out of the situation aren't looking real good. So, like,
I mean, he
you
wasn't
sort
he wasn't broke. Like if I needed a plane ticket out of there, he would have cobbled up enough money, and then I would have been angry. He would have just been like, "Oh, what did you do with your life? You're 30
yeah,
years
yeah,
old." But
yeah. It's still
and
a
then I would
bus
have.
trip, and you would have just stranger, like stranger in a strange land sort of thing. Come to this town, then you find out you're 5 hours down the track, no idea what you're doing. Like illegal taxi. You could have ended up anywhere, man. Do you know what I mean? And you just rolled with it, mate. And just chanced your luck, and look where it took you,
Well,
dude.
look, I mean, I'll tell you that like my time in China was probably the best time in my life. I met my partner there as well. I met my cats who are still with me.
I met my cat. Yeah,
10 years old, still with
yeah.
me. He's like a stray cat I picked up from the compound. Now it costs it cost me as much. Bring him to Australia cost double what it cost to buy a tiger in Florida. So
Yeah, right.
so
Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
So I would love, because Australia is not keen on bringing animals, and neither is Hong Kong. Hong Kong's also pretty strict on bringing your bringing your furry creatures. But
There's
yeah, no. I mean, the China stories never end. Like, I'll be honest. Like, I've actually have written a book about it. Not book, but written book. Well, it sounds like, ooh, I got a novel. It's a graphic novel. It's got to be a graphic novel, and I'm still figuring it out. I did a pitch for it. I reached it out to some people in some that I know that are vaguely in the business to see where that's going. And the replies went good, so back to the drawing board. But these stories are going to be told somehow one day. But I've got a couple of other projects I want to do beforehand. I've got this thing I want to do with Sizzle. That'll be the
Yeah.
first one to be just to get a comic book out again, and then I've got another short film I'm working on, and then after that will be my graphic novel. And
So
then we'll
what's
see if it was.
the man? You're a motivated dude. It's see, this is when I was chilling out like a month ago and drawing, and I thought, like, why has Alex never been on like a Chinwag before? Because it's like all of these like stories and stuff. Because like sometimes, because up in your fifth screen in your top right hand corner, like on your Friday night drink and draw, like square and your screen layout and stuff like that. It's you've got a really awesome like comedy value, because you're enthusiastic and like you're just dropping funnies everywhere and stuff like that, man. And you're very authentically yourself. You know what I mean? Like, and I've had the advantage and the luck of hearing some of these stories, and like even just with the Chinese like adventure just then, and there's more. I mean, I didn't even know that you'd written like or attempted to write a book. Well, it's no attempt. You
Well,
have.
I never talked about it publicly, so I talk about it a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah.
I
Well,
started it, so
what were you like? If you don't mind, like, I mean, you can call pickles on this one. 'Cause this is the first time I've heard about it. But
yeah.
is it like an autobiographical perspective,
No,
or?
it was never going to be an autobiographical perspective, because not all the stories are my stories. Because
Yeah.
sometimes, like, I know other friends that had funny stories happen to it, and they need to be told too. So it's just basically a combination of Chinese like stories that happen in China. Because like I see a lot of like movies about expats living there, and I don't think they captured it. There's one Korean movie that comes close, which was called "Please Teach Me English," and it's about this Aussie lady who teaches English in Korea. And that was kind of like, I was like, oh yeah, that was kind of on the ball. And but every other one, I just think it misses the point. And I remember I did a book, and you can buy it on the ComX shop, about my time in Korea as an English teacher. It's called Teacher Teacher.
Yeah.
And I just did a couple of comic strips that happened there, and I put them together into a book. And I wanted to pitch it as a pitch for something better. I was like, look, this is what I've got now. but I wanted a publisher, and I talked with Kitchen Sink Press when I was in Comic-Con.
Yep.
And they weren't too enthusiastic, but they put me on their mailing list trying to sell me more books, but I still haven't. but yeah, I remember they're pretty cold up to it. But I remember in Korea, they were like, in Korea, there's a couple of other like teacher groups. They were like, dude, you got to do more with it. They really wanted to push it. But I was just like, guys, I'm switched off from Korea. I'm so leaving. I'm going to go be cartoonist superstar in the UK. I'm gonna join my ex-Disney crew. That was a week. That went for a week. So I didn't pursue that. I tried to be famous in America. I still do. I still try. I make attempts all the time. haven't succeeded yet. But yeah, so so I tried to get that as a book, but that. So it's a little bit in with that, but that was autobiographical. So you guys can take a look. There's a bit of a flavor of just kids trying to touch your hair, and it's just creeping me out. Or my nickname, if anybody Korean watching, is my Korean name is Gemul, Dong Gemul, which literally translates to shit monster. That's what a 6-year-old's name is. And I was like, people were like, "Oh, why are you naming yourself that?" I was like, "It's the only thing I could pronounce." They try to give me real Korean names because, like, when you teach, because like in specifically more Korea and China, if you're teaching English, all the students adopt English names. And I remember one time I was given the new class. It's like, "Oh, Alex, can you name all of them?" And I just gave him Invader Zim names. So I gave him Zim, Dib, Gaz, Gur, and they were like, and then they took it seriously, and even the parents started calling their kids in front of me like Zim and Dib and stuff. And I thought it was funny that the kids I named Zim and Dib, and in the cartoon, Zim and Dib hate each other. And they did it those kids hated each other for real as well. And I was like, this is how I'm surviving this because I hate this job. But I was like, this is fun. This bit was fun.
But how did you get shit monster? Like, I mean, how?
Well, in Korea they have this thing called dongchim, which is they have this like this needle, and their kids just poke you in the ass. It's not nice. It's not a well-behaved thing, but usually naughty kids do that. And so the kids were just giving each other, and they tried to give me as well this dongchim, which translates to shit needle. So apologies for the language, but
it's all in the story there.
Aiko's in the background, very disappointed in me. But yeah, so but to be honest, like, so basically the story is going to be, initially there was like a kind of an arc about, I was going to be like an artist because like I was working in the entertainment industry in Shanghai mostly. Like I was doing like, I was working with a lot of musicians, doing stuff with, I was working with, doing video games. I was doing I had a TV show, and I had all these other stuff going on there. Yeah. And then, so I was thinking doing something along those lines, but then I was like, we kept going autobiographical. So I was like, nah, I'm just going to do an English teacher story. And so it's about an English teacher. And so I kind of got an arc going on, but the biggest problem is because like I had a couple of, when I got back, I had a bit of an illness to send to emergency and stuff. I reckon it's overblown now in hindsight, but you get shocked when you're in the emergency room and they've got all these things inside you. So basically stress related, it's a blood pressure thing. So now I got my job, 9 to 5. I still animate, still creative, and all my side projects have no deadlines. So except the ComX one, I think we have a loose deadline, but I'm sure if I miss it, Sizzle will be. I keep updating Sizzle when I have something new. So so these things, no deadline. That's why I'm not really talking about it too much. So don't expect this anytime soon. I'm gonna workshop it for a while. I'm doing little pitch decks for it, and I'm gonna try to find it a home as well. Because there's another girl who did, a friend of mine, and she did a comic as well, and it was exactly about her life in Shanghai. But her take's different to mine. It's very nice. Her artwork's very, very good. And I told her, she advised me to not do a full comic without pitching to publishers. So she was like,
deadline, Alex.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like, we'll see where this goes.
Before
so,
2050.
yeah. If I don't die from a stroke by then. But yeah, so I don't know. So these are little things. But yeah, so the Shanghai time was like a really good time in my life because like I remember me and my girlfriend, I took her to her first concert together. We went, and because I was doing like I knew a bunch of people in the events business, we got VIP tickets. So we were sitting watching a Sum 41, which is like a punk band, and we got to sit at a table. We had like Chinese soldiers around us, surrounding us for our security, and we watching like Sum 41. I was like, I'm normally at a mosh pit in these type of things, not sitting at a table with some other officials. That would have been a
weird experience, but
it was.
But it would like memorable, you know. Like, I mean, would you ever get to go back to a punk concert, sitting at a dinner table surrounded by armed forces? You know what I mean? In case people got just a little too excited, you know.
It did happen. So that did happen. So what happened was that this was like it was in a place called the Shanghai Indoor Stadium. So it was like a stadium indoors, and it's seated. And it's seated, I think it had like 15 to 20,000 seats in it. And it's more like and they didn't have like a mosh place, it was just seats, and they had the stage there. And then and they didn't sell enough tickets. So I reckon they probably sold 3,000 to 4,000 tickets. So it's kind of empty. And you had these Westerners who bought the cheapest tickets, and I just saw everything empty. They were at the back. So they tried to climb down to the other ones, and then soldiers just basically ambushed those people trying to get to the front. And then we were just surprised as if these like teenagers who just wanted better seats were this big danger. So these soldiers were surrounding us, and it was like me, Aiko, the organizer, who was like not happy because he didn't sell enough tickets. And I don't know why, there was like some important government lady, because she was like dressed up. She was like some 50, 60-year-old lady, all dressed up nicely with like, I don't know, nice clothes. And I was like, I was like, that's great. This is why I love China, because like we saw this band again last year in Sydney in the Horden Pavilion, and it was nothing like that. It was just normal crowds of people, no soldiers, no VIP.
Yeah.
And then there's like, you know. Sorry,
I'm just chuckling away at I've been to a venue. The funny part is, you remember that band Oasis?
Yeah.
Well,
they're a good band. I like them.
Yeah, they got some good.
Well, I like their music. Personally, they seem like unpleasant people to hang around with. But their music
rather
is
annoying folk. But I'm assuming. But many years ago, I was in Brisbane with a mate, and we got the opportunity to go this night to their opening show in the Brisbane Entertainment Centre, and support band was UMI, I think, from memory, and you know, like, it was pretty big ticket, you know, so let's check them out. First time in Australia, and from memory, the Brisbane Entertainment Centre seats, I'd say 15,000. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just going to go comfortably 15,000. It may be more, I don't know, but let's say 15,000. And we rolled in there, man, and we were a bit late, and we caught the end of UMI, had a look at the stadium, you know, like the venue, and there's not many people around. We're thinking, oh, no one likes UMI, you know, okay, no worries. So then we went out for another beer, came back, and it was the same amount of people when Oasis came on, man, and like dead set. It was like, I reckon there would have been 2,000 or 3,000 people in this building, man, you know, like,
wow.
Wow!
Was it the same Oasis, or was it, because like I think Liam got kicked out? So Noel and Liam were still.
Man. Wow. Like when they were pumping.
How does the promoter screw that up?
Their Wonderwall period, I think, you know.
Yeah, wow.
And, that was a blowout. So being in a big venue and there's not many people in there listening to a rock and roll band certainly is strange. Been there, but I didn't have any armed guards. I had a few toothless rednecks, and
they surround you. They surround and protect you from all the other ones.
Well, they didn't protect me, but you know, like they were, you know, like, oh, you know, like, and
Yeah.
I remember the lead singer was, you know, giving them some stick back because he obviously wasn't happy because he was, you know, a rock and roll star, you know, so he didn't like having an empty. Oasis is pro daylight saving. Queenslanders hate that stuff. That's right,
Look,
sis.
look,
You
I
know.
lived I lived a nice life without the daylight saving in Shanghai and Hong Kong, and coming back to Sydney. Besides the crappy public transport, don't defend it; it's bad. And then come at me at the comments, people. I've experienced real public transport. This is not good, but they're working on it. I get it. Props. They're working on it. It's getting better. But anyways,
Mate, mate, the
yeah.
next time you come up to, you know, I know you do like to drop into Cairns every now and then, but on your
Yeah,
way
yeah.
by, pop into Townsville and I'll show you some real public transport, mate.
Oh no, I'm not saying Sydney's the worst in the world,
Oh
but
no, I'm
I don't
saying
understand.
Townsville could be the worst in the world, mate. You know what I mean?
I
Like
don't know. I don't know.
I'd love to
LA.
take you on a couple of the local buses, mate, and you can
I
see
don't
what
know. I'll
happens.
tell you what. Like I took a bus in LA, and I'm never doing that again. I was because like I was just scouting out because like when I go to LA, there's like a bunch of things I do. Like I always go to Comedy Store, and there's like I've got 2 or 3 friends I always meet. Yeah, so there you go, Jackie. Yeah, so and I remember, so I was staying in Glendale because it was pretty central and it's like a nice suburb. It's like top 10 safest cities in US. I'm like, great. There was a shooting there, like literally the second day I'm there. There's cops surrounding the Yoshinoya, and I'm like, welcome to America. Nice one. And then I'm like, but then I was going to Pasadena, which is the after Beverly Hills, it's the second posh suburb to go to.
Yeah.
And there was an animation art expo there, like it's called Lightbox. So I was going to that. And then I was like, 2 of the ritziest suburbs. Surely the buses are fine between these 2 suburbs. And what you need to know about LA, it's not like Sydney where it's just kind of a gradient of shit. I'm sorry, crap to good to posh. You know, it's kind of like a diagonal west. And then in LA, it's just all crap with dots of luxury. So you so if you're driving between suburbs, you're going to be driving through some dodgy stuff. That's why you get on the highway. So at least you don't get mugged. You don't get mugged South Africa style. But or Brazil, I don't know. But anyways, so I remember I caught the bus and I went there and it was like sketchy, but not that sketchy. I was like, it was Sydney sketchy. Like it's like a rough Sydney day. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And then on my way back, I got on the bus and I sit down and then in front of me, there's a dude he's like a homeless guy. He has growth stuff, like literally like plants growing on him. So I'm like, you haven't bathed for a while, dude. And then again, and I was in no actual danger because everybody was in a good mood, except maybe that homeless guy. But I think he had too much. I think he had too much shrub growing on him.
Why wouldn't he be in a good mood? He got shit growing out of him, man. Like he could, you know, he's given life, you know, like while laying on the sidewalk.
And then there was like these like youths, and they were dropping N-bombs. Don't worry, don't need to cut off. I'm not dropping any N-bombs. Not even pretending it. No, it's stupid. But they were just dropping the N-bomb this, N-bomb that. And then this like old dude comes in there, and then this old dude looks sketch as well. He doesn't look like a property owner, and it doesn't look like real estate was his game. So he showed up. He showed up and he said,
away, mate. Did he walk in with like one of those?
Oh, he told us his life story. So he sat down with the N-bomb dropping youths who were in a good mood. And he was like, you kids have it lucky. Weed's legal now. And like, back in my day, I had to smoke crack and rob liquor stores. I was like, what has that got to do with weed being legal? That's still illegal, dude.
That's gone to the extreme. Here we were just having this like passive conversation about smoking a joint, and suddenly it's like it's gone into crack and stealing.
And then I'm just there sitting with my nerd goods I picked up from this comic convention, sitting on the bus, experiencing all of this.
You're sitting next to your plant, mate. on the other side, you got a street urchin that's like just acting defense. Like maybe that was like a manner of self-defense, man. Like when the guns are going off, he just folded over onto the concrete and just put the plants up to be a garden.
Yes, I was just there, just not. I was scared because these guys were in a good mood and absolutely not dangerous. But I think if they were not in a good mood, that would have been pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
So and this was like 5 p.m. as well, so it's not late. This is like between 5-6 p.m. Because like the Ubers are super expensive, so I was like, I'm done with the Ubers. Like I'm gonna learn LA. I've been to LA like 5 times now, and I'm like, I still don't use public transport. Surely you can get used to it. And I'm like, and people warned me about it as well, and they were like, yeah, don't. Like if you move here, you need, if you move, because when I went there like in 2019, I was there. The Ubers were very reasonable, and I was like, I can just Uber everywhere. I was like, it's like $10 here and there, and I'm like, if I don't travel all the time, and if I did move there, I'll just figure out where to live, where I don't need where you can do walking.
Well, you'd have to get a car, mate. You'd have to get your license.
No. People need to know. I'm an environmentalist and a lazy person at the same time, and it's good for the environment if everybody does the public transports.
So you're an environmentalist but a lazy person at the same time. Lazy, but does that mean you just don't want to get?
I'm just justifying the public transport.
No. I'm taking that justification further. Like let's go back to flattening things. Let's flatten out this justification. Like because I would have thought that being an environmentalist and being lazy, the lazy part, you would be walking everywhere. Like so you wouldn't be that lazy. And look, I'm trying to help you out here because I know you do like going on your late night walks. Like there's many.
I do my early morning walks to work. I work all the way from Parramatta to Silverwater to.
How far is that?
6 kilometers, 5 to 6 kilometers. So I do that every day, an hour and 10 minutes, and then I walk back. So I do that twice a day. So
chuck the earphones in. What tunes are you listening to at the moment?
You know what? My taste. I don't listen to too much music. I mean, I'm actually listening. Do you know? Have you heard of this German band called the Rammstein?
Yes, I have.
So the lead singer, Till Lindemann, has been releasing his own albums, and he has an English language album as well.
Yeah.
And the lyrics are questionable, definitely not safe for this thing. I remember I was just walking home and I was just listening to it, and I'm like, he's singing about being attracted to a plus-sized lady. But he was being he's using different descriptions of what he's doing. And I'm like, okay, nice. But anyways, but that's not, I'm usually like my normal go-to music. I haven't grown out of ska punk music. So all of that 90s stuff in the late 90s with punk music with trumpets, I still listen to that to this day. And I actually met like a friend of mine I was working with a little bit. We were working on a little TV pilot, and we had producers and everything and stuff. Hasn't gone anywhere yet now. I think it's kind of died down, but we did a bit of stuff together. So he's in a band called the Suburban Legends, and he also plays with like Real Big Fish, Goldfinger, and all that stuff. And that same circle. He doesn't play with Goldfinger. I think he did once or something, but a couple of other bands, well-known bands in that. So it's one of those things. It's like a scene thing. It's not mainstream or big, but if you're into that stuff from the late 90s and you haven't grown out of it, that's pretty much my scene. But I actually listen to podcasts when I walk.
What's your one you're listening to at the moment?
Yeah, you're not gonna guess, so I'm just gonna tell you. So this morning I started listening to the Sky Sports podcast where they broke down the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. So there you go.
Have you got an interest in motor racing?
Very much so. I love single-seater
Here we
racing.
go. Here's a little part of you that I didn't know about. So
Yeah, I'm a
attracted
big.
you to that.
Well, my grandfather used to be a panel beater, and he
Yeah.
watched two sports. He watched football a lot, and he watched football and car racing.
Yeah.
And I thought football was boring, but I remember the commentator said that these things have more in common with a fighter jet than an actual car. And
Yeah.
ever since then, I got hooked. And then later on, in one of the teams had Sonic the Hedgehog on the side, so Sega was sponsoring them, and I was like,
that was it.
"That's my team." Williams, and then Red Bull sponsored my university project in 2005. So I've been a Red Bull fan ever since. But now that the founders passed away, and there's it's kind of boring. Although the driver that's winning right now has the same name as my cat, Max. So and he has like a lion on his helmet. Lion's a kind of a cat, but he's boring. He's always winning, but. So it's
all
very
these
boring, but
motifs are working for you. So if I was to take you out driving and hand you a set of keys to like a Subaru and say this is more like an aircraft than a vehicle, would you get behind the wheel and take it for a tilt? Mind you, though, to go with our environmentalism and trying to be as carbon neutral as we can be, we can drive to different sections where it needs a tree, and we can plant a tree to try and.
I thought you got to use the tree to charge it.
Oh, look, I don't know.
I don't know how you plug a tree into
I mean, maybe this is something
I don't know. If there's any car engineers, work on it. There's a lot of trees out there. Imagine that. I'm just, driving through the Amazon, run out of power, just plug in a tree. Because the Amazon has a lot of trees. I don't know if you know.
Plug in a tree. Imagine filling up on a cactus, mate. Just gotta get me some cactus water, Like,
I'm not gonna hold on to a cactus because if I do this with a cactus, go whoop with cactus, I'm gonna have needles in my hands. But if I do that with a branch, I'm good. I mean, it'll be having like a little bit of dirt on it, but charging the car with a branch.
Yeah, like just specifically, just randomly set up. And you could make it aesthetically pleasing as well to the jungle. I mean, you wouldn't have to change too much about the tree, Alex. You could set up the nozzle and the fuel pump into like a branch, flexible branch type thing. You know what I mean? So you just
but Lee, I just think
an oak.
Look, Lee, I just think we just came up how to fix deforestation. Because like if you need to grow trees to charge your car, you're not going to deforest it. You're going to grow more trees. So you're like, oh, okay, I need this to charge my car. So look, I'm just saying, I'm not an engineer. I'm just an ideas man. Look, I'm just the ideas guy. I'm giving this out for free because I get it. Everybody has ideas. I don't need money for this idea. I just need an excuse to get a driver's license and a car. And I need money as well because I don't have that for cars.
Yeah. But I mean, like, it still would be pretty cool. Like, I mean, what else could you do? I mean, there was in Back to the Future, like they fueled.
Yeah, that's the best trilogy ever, by the way. Like, there's Star Wars, there's Star Wars, there's Lord of the Rings, and I'm a Back to the Futures man.
Yeah, no, third one was awful. Like,
I wouldn't know awful, but I do think it's weaker, and I think because of the weakness of the third one, it's very plausible to unseat it as the best trilogy. But but Lord of the Rings, it's like I'm open to the idea of a new trilogy coming out. But unfortunately, every time there's a trilogy, I'm like, oh yeah, this is better. They release more movies, and it's not a trilogy anymore, like American Pie. Like, you had the first three movies. You had the first one, the second one, and The Wedding. Or I think The Wedding one came after Bandcamp. So you had the first one, the second one, and Bandcamp. Because there's 5 American Pie movies, I think.
Well, they like flogging a dead horse, mate. Like,
well, there's 6, I think. There could be 6.
Yeah, there probably is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, Back to the Future was pretty cool. If we think of trilogies, hard to think of Star Wars as a trilogy now. That's like amassed itself, I guess, into a whole cinematic experience.
Hmm.
I don't know. I'd say to me, The Lord of the Rings is pretty solid, but again, that's broadened out now, isn't it? To like a whole.
I'll call it. It's not, because the Hobbits, right? It's not
Yeah,
Lord of the
true.
Rings. Like,
Yeah.
just because,
Well,
yeah, it's got this.
I'm going to go to The Lord of the Rings because
Yeah.
I must have seen The Lord of the Rings a million times, and I don't care that it's not exactly the same as the books, and I've read the books like a few times when I was younger. But yeah, no, they left me with a very healthy cinematic experience, man, of being very, like, whoa, that's the stuff, like I like going to cinema to see that.
I mean, the Lion King trilogy. Nobody talks about that, but that's a trilogy. Yeah, no worries.
Sorry, I've missed this. Really want to watch the hilarious Alex, but I've had to watch tomorrow. Have a good show, lads. No worries, Omni Bo. Thank you for dropping by.
But so I didn't. If it looked weird, I just noticed that I did this whole thing with my shorts unzipped. So I just zipped.
Oh my Lord! That's why I'm getting private messages here, mate, saying like, "Man, something's up with Alex." No, I'm not really, mate.
Yeah, but back to
the show, Alex. I mean,
back to trilogies though. Now, the reason I'm bringing up the Lion King trilogy is because I worked on 1.5. So that's the only trilogy I'm a part of in the Hollywood universe.
Yeah, but that's cool. I mean, that's cool.
So I like that because, like, if nothing else, like the end credits of LionKing 1.5 is awesome because my name's in it.
Yeah, but that's
a highlight.
Dude, you know something? I have never seen the Lion King cartoon.
Not even the first one?
No, never watched it. I've seen the motion picture version they did of it.
That's also a cartoon. It's just realistic renderings, but it's all in a computer.
Yeah, I've seen that. I haven't seen the real Ridgy Didge one. Like, but I probably should. I mean, people.
I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I didn't like it. I kind of like the one I worked on, and it's nothing to do with me working on it. But if you like, no, because it's actually well written. It's funny, and it's basically the first movie retold with Timon and Pumbaa. But it's done. I don't know if you remember Space Theater 3000.
I remember that name. What is Space?
It's basically a silhouette. These aliens, and they're like in silhouettes, and they're watching other like corny sci-fi films. And they just comment on it. So it's basically just these things, and they just comment on these like old sci-fi films. So it's like a sci-fi channel. It's like a late 90s, early 2000s thing.
Yeah,
and they basically took that as an inspiration. Like, it's a love letter to that show, and they did that through Lion King. So you got this silhouette of Timon and Pumbaa talking about it, and they're just talking through the whole movie. And then they're like, "Oh, this is boring. Let's tell our version of the story." So then they just kind of cut to different scenes of it. Yeah. So if you like the first one, I reckon the third one, or 1.5, depending regions, what's called. I reckon you'd actually like. I reckon anybody that liked the original Lion King would like that one. It's not a bad movie. Like, of all the Disney sequels that were done, because most of them are hard to watch because it's just basically whatever the kid character was, or the main character has a kid, whatever. It's always that story. It's like they've got like a Lady and a Tramp, one of the kid dogs becomes an adult, and it's retelling the same story as the first one as a kid. Yeah. Lion King 2 is the same thing. I think Simba's kid has to fight Scar's kid or something. I don't know. And then Bambi 2 is like that too. Oh no, Bambi 2 is not that. Bambi is a little bit after, like, Bambi's dad has to look after Bambi. So, because I worked on that. That was the last Disney film I worked on. But I remember that was. But yeah, the like Lion King 1.5 is like the only one I'd say like, hey, I genuinely recommend to people watch it. It's fun, like as the Disney sequels. And also, what not many people. If you're an animation fan, hey Don, if you're an animation fan, like the Disney sequels later on, the stories you may not like them, but 2D animation was dying. So all the Paris Disney animators, the Burbank ones, the DreamWorks animations that did like worked on the Prince of Egypt and all the other stuff. And then
Jungle Book 1 was great.
Second was better. Second one was better. I worked on that one. No, it wasn't better.
I'm starting to see a trend in this, Alex. Hey, the ones that win and you got the old.
But anyways,
credits there, mate.
But anyways, I just want to say that all those later Disney movies, those later Disney sequels, feature people from feature films came. So if you like Titan AE, pretty much half the animators from Titan AE went to Australia. So all of them ended up working on these films. So they actually look really good. So if you're just an animation fan, watch them, even if the stories are shit. They're very good. They're very well crafted films visually. They look good, and it's kind of it was really good to be part of that. So I was part of that, but I was more like I was just like a shit kicker there. Like I was like went through in between training, whatever, and I was just seeing all these talents from all these like around the world coming in there, and it was like probably the best school I went to. Definitely better than the actual school I went to, which we won't name because we're not gonna badmouth people here. This is all about the love. If you didn't earn the love, you just don't get love. But you know,
well, man, I mean, you've had far out. You've had like a full-on adventure. You've been like in. You're very lucky because it's like you've had. Lots of experiences.
Well, I'll tell you that with the just to go back to ComX, because like I was talking about this other comic that I'll release in 2019, not 2019. That's been already 2015. There you go. I don't know how time
has it. Has it, Alex? I don't know.
It's going to be so long that it just rolls over and it goes back.
Halfway up a hill and back.
So because I am working on a comic with Sizzle, and it's just basically collecting. It turned out initially I was just going to do a couple of comics that I've recently done, but then I found a bunch of old comics that I've done at K-Zone. I don't know if anybody remembers K-Zone. I was nowhere near as popular as
Kid Zone magazine, wasn't it?
So I did a comics there. I did some other magazines. So I found all these old comics for like 20-year-old comics. So I'm just going to throw them all in. And there's got to be other comics explaining those comics. So hopefully to book. So that's kind of like, so if you want to talk about any of that, because like I told you before the show that there was like a little black hole in Australian comics.
There was. And so you came along to fill it up. So tell us about that period.
Yeah, so basically everybody knows about issue 1, comics, Cyber Swine. People know about Hairbutt, Platinum Grid, Greener Pastures. Afterwards, people know about Killaroo, the Gestalt comics, the other stuff coming back. Then there was a period between 1998 and 2001, I'd say, that period where Us Comics died, so there was no more comic conventions, and then there was Supernova, which at the time was called Comic Fest. So there was like a lull between. So now, right now, I don't want to hear people complaining about the Australian comics industry. There's a lot of buzz going on, a lot of great comics being made. And when I was there, people were making comics, but you couldn't see it. So there were some photocopy comics being made, and King's was very good carrying them. They had a little section. They were very good with local comics. Nowadays, not so much. And then there was Comic Kingdom, but they were okay. And then there was Phantom Zone, and they weren't that nice with local comics. So I ended up did a comic book called Keyline at the time, and let me just see if I've got it. Just a second.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Oh, back into the portal. Hey, I like this. Now make sure your fly's up. Oh, you can't hear me. Everyone watching, has he got his fly up? Oh. There's nearly a coin slot there. Don Ticcio, I did some cell painting for Burbank in Surrey Hills back in the 80s for a dog's tail. There you go.
There you go, Don. There you go. So there was like Disney used to be in Surrey Hills, used to be in Kipak Street, but when I came, I was at the second incarnation, which was in Haymarket. So this is my very first comic. A friend of mine found it on eBay and bought it. So it's called Keyline.
Awesome.
Did 2 issues of it. Did it in 1998.
Yeah.
And actually, my friend who got me into comics when I get back to Australia was Ray. He bought it for me. He bought this for my birthday. He saw it on eBay for $20 and bought it. So,
how did you feel about your comic being on eBay?
I was great. I was just kind of bummed that I want strangers to like my comics. My friends always got to be nice to me. I want people I don't know, have no idea, buy it and talk about it. If I know you, like, here you go, here's my comic, enjoy it, we're mates, whatever. It's all good. But if I don't know you, that's so. I don't know. Like, it was somebody thought it was worth $20, so that was weird. So at least that's nice. My friend bought it, which was weird, but that's cool. It was nice. It was a nice gesture. I loved it. He was very nice. He's a very nice guy.
Yeah. I've come across the Battle for Bustle issue 1 on eBay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Did your best friend from high school buy it?
Yeah, no. I know of 2. I know that Peter Lane bought one, and I've seen another one floating about maybe 12 months back, and it had, I think from memory it had like $15 on it for the first issue, which I had a bit of a chuckle about. But I was actually I was cool with that, man. Like, I thought to myself, wow, that's cool. Like, the comic books on eBay, I can live with that.
I didn't mind it. I had once, was like those secondhand bookshops.
Yeah.
And I found my comic once in one of those as well. And I don't mind it because sometimes not everybody's a collector. So if somebody thought it was worth it to put it in a shop or sell it or whatever, that's fine. I mean, somebody just like rips it up and then just uses it as toilet paper and then just writes obscenities, says I hate this. But so at the time, like, not many comics went to newsagents. So there was one guy called Scott Fraser who did Doll Boy, and he did well. He did 4 issues miniseries. He did well. He was very concise. He did a 4-issue miniseries, and as far as I know, he went on to animation and he went to Tasmania and stuff. So I didn't really talk to him too much. I didn't know him too well. Saw him at a couple of conventions, and then there was Phosphorescent Comics. I think they were like a kind of a publisher at the time. Turns out that Ben's family knew my mum up in Cairns, so they were kind of Queenslanders living in Sydney, and that was like a weird thing. But and then I'm trying to think who else was doing comics at the time. There's a couple, I'm guessing, but newsagents was hard to come by because like Platinum Grit was, I think, just wrapping up. I think I was up to issue 8. I think Hairbart wasn't coming out. I think already, like, they all wrapped up, like they all stopped because this was like 98, 99. And I remember I went, and the big distributors for comics was Gordon and Gotch and some other ones. They both didn't even reply, ghost, as the kids call it these days, ghosted me. And then some other no-name distributor who turned out to do who did pet stuff and other whatever. He took it on. He's like, "Oh, I'll take 1,000 copies and put them in newsagents for you." And they did appear in newsagents. It's kind of cool. So, I mean, financially, it wasn't cool because printing at the time, like, just I think I was listening to Darren said that you had to do on plates and all these other complications, and they give you this like proof, and it stinks. It stinks, but it smells nice because it's your first comic book, and it smells nice. I'm smelling some kind of poison or lead or something, but anyways, so smelling that, and then you could only print like 2,000. He would only let me print 2,500 or 3,000 copies, and I couldn't do any less. That was the biggest problem, was that you couldn't do small volume. And then, but he took 1,000, and then eventually just dump them all. And then another printer, I went with another printer who did 5,000 copies for the same price. And then the distributor was like, okay, I couldn't sell, and I only sold a couple of hundred, so I'm only taking 600. But he told me beforehand, look, I'm going to order more because I'm optimistic. But he says that when you do, and this is probably a good lesson for anybody that's getting into serialized content, any serialized content, you're going to have a U shape, because you're going to have at the beginning, you're going to put a lot of effort in your marketing, hopefully. You're going to have your distributors, you're going to have whatever. And then, so it's going to be big high. And then it's going to drop from that high. But then if you keep with it, the theory is that it's a U-turn, so it'll go up. So he gave me advice that I couldn't adhere to, which was have a budget for a full year. And
NBD was a pretty good distributor until they shut shop.
Yeah, that's the other one I was thinking of. I keep forgetting the name. But yeah, I don't know. I couldn't even tell you the name of my no-name distributor, because by the time they signed with me, I already printed the book, so I couldn't print their name in my thing. Yeah. But yeah, I only had money to print 2 comics, but I kind of assumed I'm going to be a big deal. Turned out I wasn't a big deal. And yeah, so after 2 issues, I kind of folded. But I got into newsagents. I got fan mail from some weird place in North Queensland. I think it was Townsville, actually. I'm not 100% sure. Somebody told me about the character was called Naomi. It's like, oh, Naomi should eat mushy peas on her meat pies. And I'm like, she's eating kebabs. So
I love the fact that it's almost, oh man, that we're sitting here talking. There's the possibility it was Little Lee, P&P Widgies. Yeah, probably was. It's we're sitting here talking about like you getting a fan letter from someone in Townsville about pies or peas on a meat pie, man. Because you know what, that would be such a Townsville thing to send off. Because back in the day, too, there wouldn't have been an email like, you know.
No. This was like I had a PO box, so I got physical hand drawn letter as well. So you got a couple of letters as well. I did get one professional. I remember, like, I'm sure these days he wouldn't mind, but I remember the letter specifically told me never to mention it, so I'll just keep it to that. After show, maybe I'll tell you, but it's online. But yeah, he wrote a very positive, and it was like somebody in the comic scene. It was like pretty big, and wrote me a letter to keep going. I know where you're going. I like the potential and stuff. And so, but and then afterwards, I still did a lot of comics after that, because I befriended a stoner at Kinko's. Do you remember Kinko's?
Do you befriended a stoner in? Okay, do you remember the stoner's name?
Yes,
no,
Steve.
actually, let's not go there. Let's pickles that one. So let's leave him be. But yes, okay.
So anyway, so he was like, okay, so he liked the tobacco that anyway, the wacky tobacco. So anyway, so he was like, Kinko's was a 24-hour photocopy place. So if people don't know, 7-Eleven convenience store, Kinko's photocopy. And the guy just taught me how to use the machines, because he was like, he said, he saw my drawings when I was getting photocopied, and then he was like, hey man, I like your work. And he's like, fully stereotype stoner guy. He's like, do you want to do the cover of my album? I'll do the I'll let you I'll print stuff for free for you. And I'm like, hell yeah. So he never released that album, but I used the printing there for like about 2-3 years. I would go at 2 a.m. until 4 to 5 a.m. I'd be printing comic books. So all my comics afterwards went from being super expensive to being free. And I was being able to print 100, 200 copies at just the cost of my time.
To essentially make one album cover to a possibly non-existent album that may have just been a figure in this dude's mind at 3:30 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, he was actually very friendly. He was actually very nice dude. We became friends and chit-chatted as well. We were friends during that period. So it wasn't just like I wanted to draw that album cover for him, but I was like, what do you want, man? Like, I should do that cover for you sometime. He's like, I don't know. Like, he never wrote a song.
I can tell that this is a Reggie Didge reenactment of that conversation, mate, because I too also have lots of friends that enjoy partaking in that, and that's pretty much majority of the conversation. I don't know, man.
Yeah. So I didn't know. It's like
you
touchy
do
subject.
this to your space, man. Park,
Yeah,
man. You know,
yeah, because in LA, I was like that was like I was on a podcast of that theme. We don't smoke the same podcast. Nice guys, they love their nerd stuff as well, so they're very geeky guys. They're cool. But yeah, and I was wearing the ComX hat as well there, so I forgot for the what's up fool. But yeah, so that guy, yeah, we did the so I was actually later on, I was able to do comics for free, printing for free, and also I remember with Supernova. I remember because I was working at Disney and I saw they did a commercial and it was animated, and I found out it was done in New Zealand. And then one time I was at a after party at Supernova, and I was like, you boast. I said you boast about being this all Australia thing, whatever, and you don't hire any Australian animators. And he was like, I don't know, dumbfounded. I don't know what happened, but he was like he politely let me go because I think I drank a little bit. But then a couple of weeks later, I get a call from Mr. Zakaru, and he told me that hey, you're right. I should have an Australian. Are you interested in animating it? So then that went on to me animating the Supernova commercials for 13 years.
That's cool.
So if anybody saw, they went through different phases. Some of them were better than others, and some of them were just like, I was very happy that he didn't fire me because like I was like, oh, I was struggling sometimes. So because I was traveling, because also the irony of it was that I was all saying like, oh, you got to have an Australian one, and then I'm in China living under my Hungarian passport doing the Supernova commercials. Because they went on to like, I don't know, 13 years. So they went on for a pretty long time. I'm trying to figure out when I stopped. I think I probably stopped when I went to Hong Kong in 2018 or something like that.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Like you've had I know that I've got a cat in the background. There's a red infrared dot going up the wall there, probably for like as
that's an assassin. That's an outright assassin.
I was just going to say, if it's not Alex, you may need to duck momentarily because I think someone's out there trying to top you, mate. In the wilds of Parramatta, anything can happen. I mean, my goodness.
No, Parramatta's changed, man. Like it used to be all crazy westy. Now it's just all skyscrapers, and the cops have just kind of got rid of all the colorful characters. They still sometimes creep in. Every time the cops go, they're coming back slowly, but they're trying to change it a lot. So if anybody's looking for like fully West Sydney, I'm sorry, Parramatta's not it anymore. It's not a city like they tried to be. It's just after business hours, it's dead. Just a couple of tall buildings, but it's going to be exciting. It's a work in progress. I can give it 5 years, and I reckon Parramatta is going to be exciting. But for any nerds in Parramatta or in Sydney, if you like painting Warhammer stuff, we have 4 of those shops here. I don't know why. We have 4 Warhammer shops.
My boss at work is a nut for that Warhammer, man. And I didn't know much about Warhammer. And he's obsessed with it. Like he will talk, you even mentioned dwarf or, like a number. Alex needs to animate tourism New South Wales. That's a good idea. Or you mentioned a number with 4 in it, like for 40,000, you know what I mean? Like, and he's off, mate, like on these Warhammer tangents. Dude, I had no idea how insanely large that community was and the detail of the stories and the universes that are created with Warhammer, and how insane those, like, and insane, I don't mean like, I mean like cool, like I love people having interest in stuff, but the detail, the intricacies, the sheer like focus that these people have on the rules, the books, you know what I mean? Like playing the armor painted up and hand printed and everything like that. Like they're very dedicated people, man. Let me tell
Yeah,
you.
I mean, it's crazy how big it is because like everywhere in the world I've been, like in Shanghai around my office, there's a Warhammer store. In Hong Kong around my house, there's a Warhammer store. In Parramatta, there's 4 of them around my house. So,
Yeah,
but I don't know. Like my life's always been like with people around. 2 things I know nothing about that's always around me: Magic the Gathering and Warhammer. I have no idea
yeah.
what these things are, but they're always
I
around
know
me.
nothing about them either, man. I'm one of those random people that watched the Warcraft movie and thought, yeah, that's not a bad movie. And everyone I've told I've seen and like, yeah, I like that. I always get scolded for it. You don't know anything about Warcraft. No.
Oh, I
Look,
hate those people. If you're that person, stop it. Stop it.
yeah,
Just because
just stop. Yeah,
just stop it. Don't be
yeah,
that guy. Like like yeah. Some people like just like so what you enjoyed it. So what if it's not accurate to the original source? Like I don't know. I had a good time. You know.
that's all that matters, man. Like,
Yeah.
like like we've had conversations, but like obviously, like I'm a massive Dune fan, and I wandered down to go and see Dune Part Two the other day. And look, man, I've read Dune the novel like I'm not kidding, probably like 20 times in my life, and this book is a skeleton of what like the book is the movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like skeleton of what it is, but man, I still enjoyed it. I still enjoyed sitting there and watching it. I don't want to be one of those guys either, man. Like you can't translate every bloody novel into, like exact details of everything. You know what I mean? Like, especially when things are so detailed, like and deep. It's not like,
But
you
you
know,
can't. But like, there's so much content out there that as a one person, you can't enjoy all of it. And if you're just stuck into one thing, then you're gonna miss out on all these other things. So, like, I mean, I don't know. Like, I mean, some stuff like I'm completely okay. If you love Marvel movies, good for you. I can't get into them. I can't get into the movies. I can't get into the comics because I feel like every time I enjoy any kind of Marvel content comes my way, I can't enjoy it on its own because I know I need context for everything. Because even if it works on its own,
yeah,
you know that once you know more about it, then you know that you're missing out. But then you're like, oh, what else am I missing out on? Because there's like 50 years of history.
yeah, yeah. I don't watch too many TV show series now either, man, because I got to be honest with you, and people out there will probably hate me for saying this, but like many I like reading books too. So I don't read as many books now because I draw and stuff a lot, and it obviously interferes. But I listen to audio books a lot, and I cottoned on to like the Game of Thrones book many years ago, and slowly plodded through all of them, and then came across the TV show years later. Like, oh, I've read those books. I watched the TV show. Man, like really got like this is good stuff, like up to episode 5 and all that, like season 5 and everything, and then you wait like 8 years to find out what happened, and it's a complete dud. You know what I mean? Like, and that was the point where I just went, you know what, I'm not investing 8 years of my life into anything like entertainment wise again.
I,
Like
I
I just
can't do I can't do serialized content in general because like
oh,
I'm like you get too invested in it.
mm,
Like that's why like I've watched like if I'm watching shows. I mean, I saying that I didn't get invested in Cobra Kai, but that's
oh, come on,
that's
mate. Like, but who doesn't like, like old
but that's like cliffhanger after cliffhanger, and it's a serialized thing. But I don't know.
and
I
you
got
can
hooked up.
stop it and move on for, like a period of time too. It's
But I like
yeah,
sitcoms because it's just like 1.5 hour thing, and then I'm
yeah,
like, okay, like cartoon shows. That's why probably you know I'll watch a bunch of cartoons because you don't need to watch them in order. You don't need to watch whatever. Just go and then like it's not a heavy commitment thing. So I don't know. Like
yeah,
I don't know. I just like I've got other stuff to commit to, and
yeah.
my entertainment shouldn't be it.
Yeah, no, well,
So
I agree with you too, man. To a certain extent, it's I think things just should be enjoyed in their natural state. Like if there are people that want to sit down and watch all of these things, then that's totally 100% cool with me, man. And invest
Is it
themselves.
maybe we should start talking smack about them?
Um,
Get a viral moment going on. People's got to start going, oh, look at these two losers. They don't like people who watch serialized content.
No, look, I have many of my family and friends watch serialized content, but
now they're not going to like talking to you anymore. After this.
That's okay because I am what I am, and I have watched serialized content, so I haven't just come to this conclusion.
Oh, I'm a hypocrite too.
I'm not the dude out in the hill going, "I want serialized content." Like, have you ever seen serialized content? No, like I'm not that guy. I've been there. I've watched it, and it's just I think, much like you said, man. Like, I just guess I would rather invest my time into artwork and drawing and stuff like that.
I mean, that's where I'm at, because like I remember the other day I forgot what one of the kids asked, like, on the thing after the shops, asked me, that plumber's cracker, that was me probably.
Yeah, when you stood up before.
Yeah. Oh well. No, well, there you go. That's that's why it's PG. But yeah, he was asking me what comics do I read, and I felt so embarrassed because like I don't read much comics now. I used to read a lot, and I still like making them, and I have a pile of stuff that I want to read. But it's just consuming content. Like I barely go to the cinemas. Been to the cinemas since I've been back. I mean, in Australia, I've been to the cinemas maybe 4 or 5 times in the last 4 years. So I don't go. I say I watch Cobra Kai, but that's literally the only thing I watched. I watch a couple of other stuff, but if it's something that I can have in the background while drawing, it's easier to do. So I'll listen to podcasts. I listen to music or whatever. I'll have TV shows, or just have 24-hour news in the background feeding me nonsense, and then Chinwag for the win. I think are we breaking records, are we?
I've absolutely no idea, mate, but
so I'll listen to stuff, and so because like I've got just stuff, like I feel happiest when I'm just drawing something. So like I've got like little projects here, I've got bigger projects there, I've got all these things I don't finish, and then like for the first time in my life, or in 20 years, I've not put, like, in 20 years, because I've been freelancing and stuff. So the idea was I freelance to pay whatever, but I was trying these other ventures I did had to have a monetary value of bringing back. But now I'm like, I don't. Right now, I've got some side projects that do not have that. I just want to make them look as nice as possible, because I've got too many projects where I've just gave myself deadlines and they don't look as polished as they should, because you're like, I got to get it out there, I got to be in there and stuff. Because like my Ichigo stuff, with all the good stuff that was in there, it sucked because I didn't get to make it all look nice. It was all like every day I had to have like a new animation. So these animations, a lot of them look very rough because they were done in half an hour. It's just like, okay, here's a picture of Ichigo. Sometimes I recycled pictures and I just animated a fart quickly in there, and then off it went. Then I had I had 50,000 views, a couple hundred comments, and then you're like, oh.
I totally, the $50 million man. Imagine if it would have got $50 million and you could have gone around. Something, actually, while we get back to this, and we just jumped into random topic, I want to go back to, what was it about Portugal? That just keeps sticking in my mind. I've thought about that like 3 times since then, where you wanted to go to Portugal and get married, man, or meet.
Puerto Rico.
What about that, man?
Puerto Rico, excuse me.
No, that's
Puerto
it. Yeah,
Rico.
what was it about that?
Sorry?
What was
it? It's I'll tell you after the show.
That's a pickles moment. Hey, we've had a few pickles moments tonight, man. We're going through a good one. Yeah, I like that. For anyone out there that doesn't know what we're talking about when we say pickles, is before we have a little bow wow at the start of the show, and a safe word for any topic that may come up, which may cause some conjecture amongst the audience and possibly slightly offend people. The safe word is pickles. So for the record tonight, I think we've thrown out 3 pickles. And I don't know if there's been any before, except for one before, so on the show. So, all right. Like, that they records are made to be broken, mate. So it's, like it's like the Pickles Olympics going on here. But, I got into, just to go back, I guess, I really got into, I was cool with all the Marvel movies that were coming out in the first period, like Iron Man and all those sorts of things. They interested me.
I like the first X-Men movie.
I really enjoyed X-Men. It was like, seeing those things that you've grown up with just reading, it was pretty cool. Myself, I think I was getting a little bit fatigued by, close to, I'd have to say, by the second Avengers movie. I was a bit like, oh, okay, you know what I mean? And then I started losing track of the names, you know what I mean? Like there's Winter Soldier and there's, this and that. And then I don't know, man. Like, and then I started catching them sporadically, and I've absolutely no idea where they're up to now. I just sort of randomly, the last Marvel movie I watched was Shang-Chi, which I grew up with Shang-Chi comic books, and watched Chinwag for the win, and I liked Paul Galassi and Shang-Chi, but that movie diverted greatly for me, and I understand that things change in time and all that, but that's when I sort of realized too that I didn't want to be one of those people that was like, it's not like I was in the comic books, you know what I mean? Like it's sort of, that it had.
You can be that. Embrace that guy. Embrace
that guy. You reckon? Well, okay. Well, the duality of me is then that, there is that part of me. I guess I just don't like voice it, but there's also a part too where if that's what people like in this day and age and they enjoy it, then they can enjoy it. But like I'd just sort of rather, I guess, sort of pull back from it,
Well, Lee, I'll go on a bit of a rant of what I don't like about those movies, and my biggest rant about those movies that it did nothing for comics. Like nobody watching those movies is buying comics. They're buying a T-shirt maybe that's drawn by the comic artist, but nobody's out there buying comics. So all it is doing is just IP stuff. So they're just printing some comics with not much care, just so they've got the IP whatever reasonings to it. And I think that for me personally, like my biggest bugbear with Marvel and DC is that they not completely, because if you look for it, it's out there, but it didn't do much favors for the English language comics, because you go to France, you go to France, comics isn't just Spirou and Tintin. Like it's a lot of comics. Like there's a lot of different titles going on there, and albums, as they call it, whatever. And the same thing with Japan. Like I can criticize the artwork being too samey. Yeah, come at me, bro. But the stories are, it's not just, when people think anime, they don't just think, One Piece and Naruto and Dragon Ball. There's a lot of other stuff. There's genres and all this other stuff. But then when you talk to anybody that doesn't know anything about comics, they go quickly Marvel, DC, spandex superheroes, and English language comics they don't go to different stories. That's why it was difficult. Like when I got into comics, I really liked the Oni Press. I liked the slave labor graphics, because they just did different stuff and they were fun and interesting. And then Marvel, DC, I was like, there's one Marvel book I bought because I loved the Max, and Sam Keith did this crossover between the Hulk and Wolverine. Yeah, I just bought it for the artwork. The story didn't do much for me, but you know, there is stuff like, you know, you go in there, if you got a favorite artist and then they're going to go over and do a Marvel DC book, you read it. But I just never got drawn into the whole lore of it because it just seems so manufactured. And the fact that like the original creators weren't there, it's just eventually just fans working on it because people are like, oh, I grew up on Spider-Man, so now I'm drawing Spider-Man. Dream came true. And I'm like, that's great if that's your dream. And it's nice and it's awesome. But it just was never really like my dream. Like I'm not chasing that. Like, just, you know, you want to, like, I was like, oh, I like what I you know, like ideally it's never going to happen to me, but I'd love to do the Bill Watterson thing where he just does 10 years of comic strips, never sells out, doesn't do any merch, and just retires after 10 years and just lives off the books and the comics themselves. And I'm like, that's a boss move, and that's cool. Like, you know, that kind of stuff.
I as when I was younger, you know, like I think everyone that starts off with comic books, you know, like thinks like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. But like, you know, when you get back to like deadlines and stuff, like I just like taking my own time and telling my stories. I've got to be honest with you, Alex. I don't know, man. Sometimes I think there's something wrong with me, but I don't enjoy drawing like those characters, man. Do you know what I mean? Like when I sit down to draw something, you know, like myself, I would rather draw like from internally inspired stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like from myself, man, as opposed to, I don't sit down and go, oh, I'm going to draw a picture of Spider-Man today. You know what I mean? Like, or anything else. Like, you know, like I draw from what like is coming from within me, man. You know, my own characters or other images and stuff like that that translate, I guess, from what influences me. So I get a little bit. I don't know. I think you just sound like me to a certain extent, man. Sometimes you're just looking for something a bit different, you know. And not all comics have to be the Marvel and DC way, you know. Like because
No, but I mean, I'm not that anti it. I mean, if you know, Marvel wants to reach out and offer me a contract that matches my current contract, and I'm like, let's draw it up. And I'm not against, like, I'll draw the frames up, but the reality is, nobody wants that. Not enough people want that to justify it. Like, you know, if you want to tank comic sales even more, like, get me to draw Wolverine, and those sales will plummet. So, you know, it's it's not. I mean, it's just, let's you know. And there's people out there that are passionate about it, and that's cool. You know, that's just
it
not
is
me.
cool, man.
I mean,
it's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. But yeah, like, I mean, I don't know. Like, I mean, I just like drawing. Like,
Same.
I mean, one thing I didn't show you, but like, you know, like I did plush toys. That was a dream of mine. So I got to work for a toy company in Hong Kong, and we designed, this is my actual cat, Max.
Yeah.
So, and then we had, like, you know, Spud the bear as well. Someplace there. Just a second, I'll grab him. No.
I see you're not standing up this time, mate. Oh, you have your headphones in. We'll get him when he comes back.
There we
I
go.
see you weren't standing up there, mate. You didn't want to reveal too much more of yourself that you've done to the masses this evening.
I mean, there's, you know, got to keep him keen.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was Spud the bear, and like, he can't speak because he's a toy. So but this is a real cat. So he does all the talking for him. And so basically he was. So it was pretty cool. We had this little story with him, and he looked very different. And people are like, it's so divided on him because people are like, what is this? And I'm like, it's a bear. And then they're like, it doesn't look, because like they hired me to make a unique bear. That was the pitch. And I'm like, so I did this, and they were like, doesn't look like a bear. And I'm like, it does. Got round ears, got a top hat, and he had also, like, I don't have the toy someplace up there, but he had like a little belly. Like, he's got a belly here, but there's another one with a plastic belly, and you could ride on it. So he communicated by riding on it. So there's like like a little thing about communication, like teaching kids to communicate, not to be shy, and not to let disabilities, you know, just to overcome disability, because he can't talk because nobody drew him a mouth. So he was like a toy that was designed, and he escaped. He wanted to experience life, and then so I remember we had one guy from The Simpsons who was redesigned it, and because we went through feedback. I got super mad because the feedback he gave me was he just gave me a generic bear look. And I was like, come on, you work on The Simpsons. Like, does Bart look like a real boy? It's like abstract shapes, and that's all that is. Like, the whole concept is like for character design, when you design a character, you want somebody who can draw your character, and even if it's drawn poorly, you still can recognize it. Like, you can recognize Mickey Mouse because of the shape of the ears. You can recognize Bart Simpson because of the silhouette, or any of the Simpsons characters. Because, like, what I like and don't like is subjective, but there's specific rules. So anyway, I got into an argument with somebody who's there's a lot more street cred than me in the business, but but the toy never went off, unfortunately. We had a couple of discussions with distributions and whatnot, but didn't go anywhere. And also, we lost a lot of money during, because we all love to talk politics. So during the Trump-China tariffs, because I want you to get views. So I figured, let's bring Trump into the conversations. So his tariffs costed me my job, literally, because our company was doing stuff in the US. And those tariffs, basically, the client wouldn't want to pay it. They would have went elsewhere. So our company had to bite the bullet on that. And then all of that budget went into my division. And we just basically got obliterated.
It's like, weirdly, you said Trump then, because he obliterated his Republican Party counterpart the other day. I see the other day. So,
the lady?
Yeah, like, he's won, so he's heading for president again, I believe. Like, in the running in November. So see how that goes, mate. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to get in. I'm not going to tell you who I'd be voting for, because I'm not American. But
yeah, it's like, we won't go there. But whatever makes people happy. I mean, that's the beauty of these things, isn't it? All I'd say, Alex, is I think everyone's entitled to an opinion. I think everyone, can like or dislike anything they like or want to.
It depends. When you're in a client situation and they paid you for a certain amount and they kept changing their mind, I'm sure a bunch of freelancers can relate when somebody's like, I said, I need you to make a decision on the character now, because after I start animating it, every little change is literally days of work, and I have to charge you for it. And they're like, understood. And they're like, can you make his eyes a little smaller? I'm like, I just finished it.
That wouldn't be. That's probably why I just do things by myself these days, man. Do you know what I mean? Like, and just sit here and draw a bustle, really. For pleasure, not pain. In terms of artwork, mate. As we'll start winding it down a little bit, because
I'm looking at the clock. It's almost 11 o'clock, and it's a school night.
I know. That's what I'm looking at.
I'm hoping there's people in other time zones for whom it's not a school night. It's just it's like my lunch.
That'd be me. But yeah, I did take that into consideration when I just looked too. So, Alex, I always like to ask the guest just a couple of things before they go. Well, we know the whys, but what would you say to little Alex right now if they came up to you and said, I want to do comic books? What would your advice be, mate?
I'll be like, you look too similar to me. I'm not your dad. I don't know what's going on, but this is creepy. And then run away.
Well, that's fair advice.
I mean, look, I don't know what I'd say to the kids, to me specifically, but I think with a lot of kids, younger people, I see a lot of young people just struggle, and you don't need to make this a living. A lot of people that do make this a living, literally, their spare time is drawing. Like, if for you, drawing is like, you feel accomplished and you feel you've done work while drawing, double check if you want to do it. Like, if you keep asking yourself, how do you get inspiration? I'm like, I don't know. Just do. I can't leave the house without having something to draw on it. There was, before digital stuff, I had my sketchbooks. I never left the house a sketchbook, and now I draw with my finger on my phone if there's nothing else. But usually an iPad comes along with me anywhere I go, just to have something, ideas jot down, or I've got in the middle of things I can always work on. And I mean, I don't know, like, I mean, it's really just sometimes, like, I think about it, like, just the reality of working in the entertainment industry. It's not financially good. It's super risky, and to be honest, especially if you're doing like this, like, if you, like, a lot of people in this business really take advantage of the fact that this is your dream, is to be in there, so they can get you to do top work for a lot of hours for little money, and you can't fight it because there's another guy if you're not willing to do it, there's another guy to do it, and you need to question yourself, is this the life you really want? And like, sometimes, like, I go through phases where, like, normal job would have been better. Like, I was working in hospitality. If I would have pursued that for 20 years, that's also an interesting stuff. Like, I worked in a hotel before Disney. I was juggling between caricaturing and working in a hotel, and that was the thing. So I don't know, like, exactly how to answer that questions. Like, like, I'm sure the young version of me is like, why is this middle-aged man just yelling this, talking to me? I just gotta leave.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess, as you just said then too, man, I suppose, like, what you're getting to is drawing is,
I mean,
like,
I have no regrets.
a compulsive thing, isn't it? Sorry? Drawing, at the end of the day, like, regardless of where your career heads. I mean, you were talking about, you carry a pen, a pad, like paper sketch pads around with you. I mean, drawing is just a compulsive thing. It's something that people that like to draw will do, whether you are like just sitting down drawing on the newspaper or a notepad, or you're spending 10 hours alone in a room, listening to podcasts, drawing for relaxation and skills and stuff. It is just something you will do.
I mean, I have no regrets with that choice, but I'm just saying that, like, people need to understand that, like, when you do this, just, like, there's nothing wrong with it, and it's great. I've done a lot of some, but for a lot of people, I reckon they come into there because, like, the other thing you need to remember when you get into this thing, you need to be useful for somebody else. Like, I haven't made much money with my own creations, but people needed an animator, people needed an artist, people needed posters, people needed caricatures, and there were just other stuff that people needed, and and eventually that's also, like, that's the reality of it, like, and you need to be prepared for it. And I remember, like, when I went, like, one advice I got, I was 19 years old, and I was working because I was like, I always wanted an agency to represent me and find me work because I'm not a good salesperson. And there was a drawing agency called The Drawing Book, and there's a guy called there, Patrick. And I remember he was told me, he's like, look, man, you can try some stuff out. He gave me some books to look at, but he says, look, the people that come to me, he's like, he says, look at, I don't know why he specified a race, but he said, look at these Asian kids always drawing in their books. They're just drawing people, drawing in the bed. Nobody's prompting them. They're just drawing all the time. He's like, I don't see that in your work. And, so there was that. And then also when I went to Disney, I remember at Disney, they don't want to look at your cartoon drawings. They just want to see your life drawings. They push life drawing. So I go life drawing now. I draw real people and stuff. That's not my pleasure drawings, but I enjoy it. You kind of learn it. So I'd probably be rambling like this to the young myself, and he'd be sleeping someplace.
Wow, mate, that's pretty good advice there, though, from someone who's been around and knows what they're doing. So, and is still doing it. So, mate, thank you very much for the chinwag tonight. I do apologise that I wasn't as bubbly as what I usually am. It's just I've been a little bit under the weather for the
last. Me too, man. I got a dry throat and got my stuffy nose. So, like, that whole not going through teenage thing, still going through puberty thing. Like, it's not just the hair; it's the voice and the nose as well.
Yeah, I can. Well, this week I can definitely sympathise, man. So, But
Not with the hair, you can't.
no,
Well,
I can't.
top hair, but you can't. But you got sideburns. You got sideburns.
You know, I might just, you know, now that I know you can't grow any, man, I might just grow them outwards and just have big old, you know, like, and tie them up in knots and plait them just to tease you, mate, the next time I see you, you know.
I was just thinking, the way you did your hairs, it looked like you just wanted to be a motorbike. So somebody gets on your back and then just holds on to your sideburns and just goes, bam, 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 bam.
Yeah. See, we could do that. I mean, that could be a whole new character there, man. You know, sideburns and sideburnless. You know, it's just the way it is. But Alex, we can see some of your stuff Friday night drinking draws. Alex is a regular. For anyone that doesn't know, Alex has a couple of stories in ComX Presents issue 3, I believe. It's available in the ComX shop. You've heard Alex. Yeah, you're in a Vamoose coming up, so that should be available pretty soon. G'day, a bit late to the stream, Tom McGee. That's all right, buddy. We're still around. Nice work, you wags. Thank you very much, Nick May.
Isn't that doesn't that make us wives of football players?
Yeah, well, we could be wives of football players if you wish in another life. I'm not sure, but you know,
I don't know. I'm just thinking somebody's accusing us of being one of those.
Apparently, I'm not really sure, but sure, in another parallel universe, we could be wives of footballers. So, sure, that could be another comic book character there too, man. And you know, like the wife of a footballer with a beard. Yeah. All right, so. Everyone out there, don't forget to like and subscribe ComX across YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and all the places you can find them. Don't forget to like and subscribe Aussieverse across YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, and anywhere else you can find them. Support the local community that bring you fun things to do, all about comic books and entertainment. And you know, the more likes and subscribes we get, the more the tree grows. So, you know, it's healthier and healthier. It attracts more people that are like-minded, builds a community, which is the number one thing, and helps promote Australian comic books, which is the number one aim for ComX and Aussieverse. So, as always, I'm just trying to think here because I do have a flu. I'm a little bit slack with my brain this week. Everyone will always hear me say this, but ComX and myself are pretty big advocates for mental health. Look after yourself, and if you look after yourself, then you can look after others around you. If you are under any stress or aren't feeling too well, reach out to some healthline numbers and helpline numbers, and talk to someone, talk to your friends, let them know how you're feeling, get a little bit vulnerable. Sometimes we hold things inside that, you know, we need to let out, and it's better out than in a constructive way and a helpful and a pleasant way that makes you a better person and helps the people around you. So look after your mental health out there in this crazy world. Again, like and subscribe everything. Now, Chinwag is made with love, and I wish you all very good evening and see you back at 7:30 next Tuesday night for Stu Thornton. Alex Major, thank you, my man. I'll catch you.
Thanks for having me. Great. It was great chatting with you, Lee, and see you on Friday.
No worries. All right, community is unity. See you later. Bye-bye.
This show is sponsored by the ComX Shop. Check out comx.cx for all things ComX and find out what ComX is all about. We hope you enjoy.